collection just for what it led to in the future. And then, of course, there is Capcom vs. SNK 2, for many people, the absolute selling point of the collection itself. Once again, just one of the most legendary fighting games of all time, period. So many characters, and of course, scored by the fact that there is the groove system. 6 grooves, and each way you have a groove wildly changes how you play the game. So every character, obviously being their own unique character, is a big deal. But then when you add the groove system, it just makes everything so varied. Then, of course, the team building aspect with the ratio system. You could have one character if you want to go ratio 4, or you could have a team of 2 or a team of 3. However you want to do it, although you should probably do it ratio 1, ratio 1, ratio 2. Add in all the modern fixins we talked about, a nice dose of rollback netcode, lots to love here. If you don't know much about the game, years ago I made a video just about how awesome Capcom vs. SNK 2 is, so check that out. I'll link that in the video description for you. Like, I don't know really how to sell the game at this point. It's just simply one of the best fighting games ever made. Done. Full stop. If you've never played it before, you owe it to yourself to try it out. That's really all I can say right now. There is a core element of the game, though, I do want to talk about, and that, of course, is that naughty roll canceling. So many grooves feature a roll, and it's like the King of Fighters style roll, and it's very invincible, and you can use it to get around, all sorts of various projectiles, strikes, all the kind of stuff, just like you would in King of Fighters. That's perfectly fine. The problem with roll canceling is this, is you can take a roll and apply its properties to any move. So notice here Terry's doing Power Wave, right? Power Wave's not projectile invincible, that's for sure, but the roll is. And you can see him just barely start up a roll before going into Power Wave, making the Power Wave invincible. This is absolutely a glitch, 100%, but it's a glitch that became important to the game's competitive life over the years, so they left it in. In fact, they made it easier than ever. So, as we mentioned, this is a modern game, so it lets you do things modern games do, like set button macros. In fact, it lets you macro specific moves, like a singular specific move to a singular specific character if you want. Sure, whatever, right? But yeah, it lets you do various macros because it's a modern game now, right? And one of those is like punch, like kick, aka roll. So the thing about roll canceling is it's normally pretty difficult because it's a very small window to do it, right? You have to do whatever move you're doing, and right before you complete the move, you roll, and it's a very short frame window. But now that you can macro roll to a single button press, you can effectively plink the button and the actual button you want to hit, making the actual roll cancel and getting those invincibility frames easier than it's ever been. It's not free per se, right? But the difficulty, the execution barrier, making it a single button press definitely makes it a lot easier. So basically the idea is they're going to be bringing roll cancels to the common man, effectively. And if that still sounds weird and hard, don't worry, just play K-Groove. That's what I do, right? I'm not here to worry about roll canceling. I'm here to work easy, not hard, and K-Groove is that. K-Groove is super top tier, by the way. And it's easy for babies like me. And while we got our boy right in on the screen now, they did remove his sprite inversion glitch, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, because
I'm going to play all the games.
Most
if you're tuning into the stream,
this one specifically, though,
type some numbers in the chat, man. Welcome, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to where you at in the world.
Just won't work.
I am currently just chilling before work, doing some laundry, and rolling up. So this is just chatting right now. Fuck it. I'm in the process. I'm looking to get in the camera. I got 20 subs. Shout out to my boy Reese again. I can't thank you enough for that shit, bro. God damn, he just turned me the fuck up. So I'm finna
there's a lot of you never even heard.
Probably give me a camera in the next few weeks. I'm gonna hook up my Steam Deck too. Damn, man. Fuck.
And with Power Stone 1 and 2 and CVS,
shout out to your boy.
That's already amazing by itself. That's a trail right there. Everything else past that is a straight bonus. So as with my time with the preview of the game, all I can really say is, hey, Capcom, as far as the collections go, kind of hit another home run. They're really good at this collection thing. They're really figuring it out. The games are quality. They're remastering and brought back to the modern day is done very well. And all the little features, gimmicks, and gigas that have been added to the game are all just great, really. So all I can say is recommend it. Once again, it's coming out later next month, so it's going to be a little while just yet. Going to be May the 16th, and once again on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. And hey, maybe check it out. Well, hello and welcome. This is Roofmonger.
Welcome.
And my friends, in today's video, I want to talk about Capcom versus SNK 2. One of the best and one of the most important fighting games of all time, period, hands down. CVS2, in no uncertain terms, is simply a masterpiece in fighting game design. So with that said here, I want to take a look back in this video at just what the game is and what it did to make it so special. So first to start it off here, Capcom vs SNK 2 is the mark of the millennium. It came out in late 2001 and was basically set to show off the new millennium of fighting games. Now in Japan, the subtitle is different. In Japan, it is Millionaire Fighting 2001. A specific note to the plot of the game. Now the game does not have much in the way of plot, but what is there is this. The Masters Foundation and the Garcia Financial Concern, well, they got together and decided to hold a martial arts tournament. These guys being Masters Foundation, aka Ken Masters, and Garcia Finance, as in Robert Garcia. They're both rich boy fighting game people, right? So they put together a fighting game tournament and the winner gets $1 million. Oh, shit. That's about it. But hey, good enough reason to fight, if any. Being a sequel, it's a follow-up directly to the first Capcom vs SNK, but once again, a little lore light, little plot light, although it is hinted at that the winners of the first Capcom vs SNK were Joe and Dan. And you know what? Two buttheads winning the big crossover.
Hit my line, bro, if you're trying to do a little virtual sesh real quick, my boy.
So that all now said, let's talk about some of the stuff that made CVS2 truly special. So first off here, gameplay-wise, the game ideally runs off the 3 versus 3 classic King of Fighters formula. You pick your fighters and you go from there. However, if it was just that alone, that's fine. Hey, King of Fighters has thrived over the years with that exact formula. But there's a lot more to it than just that. Like, first off here, look at the roster. This is a roster for the ages. If you want to play it a bit more safe, you got your Ryu, you got your Ken, you got your Chun-Li. On the SNK side, yeah, you got your Kyo, you got your Iori, your Terry Bogard, Mai Shiranui, all that. But if you want to get a little bit weirder, the weirder choices are there. Like, what about Kyosuke from Rival Schools? Eagle from Street Fighter 1. Hibiki from Last Blade 2, very recently showing up in the new version of Samurai Showdown.
Hey.
How about Geese and Rugal? These guys don't show up in games often. So their appearance is very, very special. Getting these characters is like a rare treat. Any kind of playstyle you could possibly hope for or possibly want, you will find covered in this roster. It is a truly fantastic roster. So 3-on-3, great roster. That's just scratching the surface. We got a lot more to go. We have the ratio system, and we'll go more in depth in that in a little bit. But suffice to say, just your 3 members, that's not all. And of course, we have the grooves. The grooves are the heart and soul of CVS2. So you can see here, we got C-A-P-S-N-K. So Capcom, SNK. Cute enough, right? And you pick your groove before you even pick whatever team members you're gonna pick. What a groove is this. It completely defines how you are gonna play the game. It gives you your own full-on rule set. Like, every fighting game has its rule set, right? Like, what's possible, what's not. Each one of these 6 different grooves is its own full-on fighting game rule set. So effectively, you have 6 levels of base systems to work with in this game on top of whatever characters you're gonna play. Every groove plays very differently from every other groove. They all have different things they're looking for. They all have different things they offer to you, the player. Some help with offense more, some help with defense more. They all got their all varying forms of utility. And the real beautiful thing is, depending on the character you want to play, your character will wildly change what they are looking for in the match, depending on what they're doing. An A groove Bison wants to do a very different thing than a K groove Bison.
I'm finna spark my mom.
Now, just to talk how some of these mechanics work here, because they're very core to the game. First,
she need a little chop, bro.
So, regardless of your team, like, yeah, you could have a team of 3, but you could also maybe not, right? What matters is you're given a ratio of 4 points, and that's what you have to work with. However you want to spend those 4 points is completely up to you. So most of the time, if you pick a team of 3, how it's going to work then, you're going to have a ratio 1 character, a second ratio 1 character, and 1 ratio 2 character, because that equals 4. However, on the flip, you could only pick, say, 2 characters. And then you would have a ratio 1 character and 1 ratio 3 character. Or finally, you could just say, screw it, I am only picking 1 character, and that will be a single ratio 4 character. Every ratio...
Alright, let's check out, obviously, CVS2. This is probably the main game that I'm going to be playing personally. I love the fact that we got hitboxes on this, bro. Oh, mass. It's been a long time. What's up, everybody? This is Justin Wong. We're back with another fighting game video, and we got the privilege. We actually got blessed by Capcom. We got the early copy of Capcom Fighting Collection 2. Is it ready to go? Is this something that we're going to be playing a lot in the future? And the answer of all that is, yeah, check the video. But of course, I'm going to be playing a lot of this. So if you guys want to see the action, like, share, subscribe, turn on bell's notification. And yeah, like I said, big shout outs to Capcom for blessing your boy with a code. All right, let's see. Let's go with the training mode for Plasma Sword.
They gonna drop your ass.
Nightmare of Bilstein? I don't even know. I remember I played Blood Hayato. That was like the character. Now I have to remember how to play, really, because I don't remember how to play. Oh, is it, maybe I didn't play this character. No, I played this character. No, I don't think I played this character. How do I activate? Oh no, that's not the character. That's not the character. No, that's not the character. Who did I play? I think it's this guy. Maybe this one? Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, that right. Hey, there's it. That's my man. Bro, I'm about to ruin people online playing this game. Hey.
Oh yeah, you already got me sold on this motherfucker right here.
Let's see how it feels like playing arcade mode. What is up? I know I'm interrupting your video, but we have to give a big, huge shout out to Madrinas for sending me their Street Fighter Boba Tea collection box. So you get this box right here. It's a collector's box. Obviously, you have your 2 flavors and the collector's box right here. And I took it out already. So obviously, you can see Yuzu Ryu's Lemonade and Chun-Li's Mango Boba Tea flavor right here. They even sent a custom Street Fighter shaker cup. I already filled it with the Boba Mango right here. Look, this is obviously what the cup is. And try it out, see what it tastes like. Oh, wow. This is actually really good. I actually like this a lot, actually. This might be something I might want to put in rotation, actually. Wow, that's actually a really good flavor. Now, I'm excited to try the Ryu Yuzu Lemonade later tonight. But if you guys are a collector for Street Fighter goods, this is a must-have collection for all of you guys. You guys have to act quick, because once these are gone from the shop, they're probably never coming back. They just told me once it's gone, it's gone. So use my code JWONG for 20% off at madrinas.coffee/ once again, they want you stay gaming. Enjoy the rest of the video. Okay, come on. The movement is mad good on this. Music OD2? Oh my god, my bad. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't familiar with the game. I'm sorry. Oh my god. Yo, what? It just keep going? I like how it has hop jumps too. Wait, did he just parry me? Wait, what just happened? Hey. Alright, there we go. Got repeatedly pressed. Look at that. Look at the damage on that bad boy. Transformation. Oh, he John Talbane out here. Yo, what? Look at this damage. I gotta just take that? Every single time I gotta just take that? I guess I could stop time to freeze him. Because activating this is like crazy. I wonder what I do there, actually. I don't even know what I do there. I don't know if that was a grab super or whatever. Oh my god. No. We're not losing the first game. We're not losing the first game. Yeah, we're not losing the first game. Come on now. Hey. Ah.
Because there's more.
I wonder what I'm supposed to do there. I actually don't know what I'm supposed to do there. Alright, obviously, I'm not an expert with Plasma Sword or anything, but I think the game feels good. Like, my buttons feels like it comes out well. Let's check out CVS 1 Pro. Crazy part about CVS 1 Pro is I actually did not know there was a arcade port for this, or unless this is a Dreamcast port, I'm not too sure. But I have never seen, maybe you guys can tell me in the comments, I have never seen a CVS 1 Pro like in the wild, but this definitely is the Dreamcast training mode for sure, I believe. Okay, let's see. Okay, extras there. Now, I used to like to play Extra King, normal and extra. It's pretty much two different versions of the characters, so they have different supers, different special moves, different properties. So definitely the tiers have changed. The tiers have changed. At least for original CVS 1,
95 Air Max
like EX Yuri is way better than normal Yuri. Same thing with EX King. EX King is definitely way better. Like, I know light punch jump lights were like so broken. It's like even regular DPs were losing to jump lights.
It depends on the colorway.
Man, that combo still works. Wait, is that not? Oh, I can't link that anymore. Before you could link crouching heavy kick into this move, but you see how they fall down way faster. How about throw? Oh, that still works. Yeah, throws in this game.
I had some before.
Into specials were so cheap. Look at the damage on that. This is ratio 1 versus ratio 1. So if this was against ratio 2, it wouldn't do that much damage. Okay, now I need to check for one thing, just because I personally love this. So Blanca, he was able to do like grab, like the munching grab into super. So I'm curious if he still has that. Okay. Wait, how do I do level 3? I think it's both punches. Because this is a 4-button game. Don't forget. Okay. Ah, it still works. Yes. Yeah. Oh, does that? I wonder if that combo still works actually. That combo is pretty hard. The link. Yeah. I don't think so. Man, they nerfed that? Unless I'm ass. Yeah, I think they nerfed that, huh? And the crazy part about CVS 1 Pro is like a lot of people, not Pro, but CVS 1, a lot of people in the tournament scene didn't really like this game because it took very, very long. And there's only 2 groups here. Obviously, you saw Capcom with like the classic Street Fighter group. SNK, this is more of like the S group from, CVS 2. But I guess King of Fighters 96. King of Fighters 96 where you charge your meter and then you're able to roll as well too. While S group of CVS 2 was only charge and you get the King of Fighters 95 dodge. There's Joe. Yeah, let's see. These two were added, Joe and Dan. They were not added in original CVS 1. So yeah, these are 2 brand new characters. Yeah. So I guess we can try them. I would expect them to be bad characters just because Dan is naturally bad. Oh, this is like, yeah, this is definitely the CVS 2 sprite. He doesn't have a crouching heavy punch. Yeah, because if you want to use normals, like this is crouching light kick. Oh, he doesn't have crouching medium kick? Because usually if you do down forward normals, you'll get like the different normal, right? But I guess he only has 4 buttons, really. Yeah, it's so weird that he doesn't have crouching heavy punch. The Kadoken! Kadoken! Oh, you see the little lag? There's like not lag, but I think that's the game where it has a little bit of lag after you do a combo. But I don't think it's like the collection. I think it's just this is how the game naturally is. But I mean, they did take out the slowdown in Marvel 2 though. Oh, that's full screen. Usually the light in CVS 2, the light punch tornado does not go full screen. Okay. I don't know. Wait, Joe doesn't have the little. Yeah, he doesn't have the quarter circle back or half circle back kick move. Does he have punches? Oh, he doesn't have the 100 hands. Oh, so he's missing 2 moves from CVS 2 actually. So I just want to know. I just need to test this just so I'm not going crazy, because I feel like I'm going crazy with this. Okay. So remember I talked about how, oh yeah, like, like it's a 4-button game, but you can get mediums of moves. So I know for sure Ryu down back heavy kick is medium kick. Yeah, see, I'm not tripping. I'm not tripping. Okay, so they just didn't give Dan and Joe mediums. I'm not tripping. Thank you. Did that work? Oh, they nerfed the best combo in the game? Bro, I love seeing crouching heavy kick into Shinshiro. You removed that? Oh my, no! You nerf Ryu? No way you nerf Ryu. Obviously there has been some balance adjustments in CVS 1 Pro. Like, I can't even tell if this is like I said, I've never seen the arcade version. If you guys can tell me if there was an arcade ports or anything like that, that'd be super great. How do you do training mode in Power Stone 2? What does training mode in Power Stone 2 look like? Let the power begin. Okay, so it's a 3-button game, right? There's jump, that's punch. Training mode in Power Stone 2 is crazy. I never would see the day that we would have training mode for Power Stone 2. I don't know what I'm doing, but I think the computer will teach me better. Alright, you guys told me Ayame is broken. If she's ass, then let's blame him. I saw the purple. There we go. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Can I pick up as oh I can't pick those up while I'm in this form. Did I just die? He said ha 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 yeah. Oh no. Oh what's happening? Wait, how do I fight here? What am I doing? This is chaos here. He said, whoa. Oh, I lost. He said, oh no. Give me that. Oh, give me that. Oh my god. Alright, we got the blue. We got that. What is that? What is that crystal? That didn't do anything to me. Oh, they're my super. I guess it's
pause this. Just put on another. Let's put on another one real quick. Be right back. Mobile. You said what now? You bad?
Could be the end. Sagat wins. The world's fiercest fighters await. Will you be the last warrior standing? Training stage. Your destiny will be determined here.
The answer.
Who will emerge a champion? Fight!
Hadouken! 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 Hadouken!
Who and with that, the fight is officially underway.
Hadouken!
Offense or off, anything can happen.
Hadouken!
The fear out there is
Hadouken!
No way I can!
These fighters are really evenly matched.
Hadouken! Hadouken!
Fantastic combo. The fast lady is a bastard chick.
Shinku Tatsumaki!
K.O. battle continues. Fight!
Hadouken! 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 Hadouken!
The fight has finally begun. Which one of these two will emerge on top? It doesn't get any more intense than this. After that, the fight is officially underway.
Bye-bye!
Where did that come from?
Hadouken!
Fantastic combo!
Shippuden! Bye-bye!
Where did that come from?
Hadouken!
Come back!
Here we go!
Could be the last.
Hadouken!
Seen a combo that intense. KO! Let's keep it up! Fight!
Hadouken!
Which of these two challengers will walk away
Shippuden!
The fight is officially underway!
Shippuden!
The fear out there is tangible!
Shippuden!
Hadouken!
Advantage! All bets are off! Anything can happen now!
Bye-bye! Hadouken! Hadouken!
I've never seen a combo that intense!
Hadouken!
There it is! KO! Ultra combo finish! Pick up the pace! Fight! First hit, the scale is tipped!
Hadouken!
Fight
Hadouken!
is underway!
Saya!
Which of these two challengers will walk away a champion?
Shippuden!
Hadouken!
Shippuden! Bye-bye!
I hope this fighter is in the zone!
Shippuden! No way I can!
Shoryuken!
Shippuden! Bye-bye!
Like a light!
Shippuden!
Ultra combo that intense!
Saya!
KO! Sakura wins! Who will bask in the glory and adoration that comes with being declared the world's greatest fighter? Training stage. Destination confirmed. It's the battle of the century. Fight!
Hadouken!
Shippuden!
There's the first hit. What's next?
Hadouken! 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 Shoryuken! Hoya! Saya! Hoya! Saya!
Turn it all around.
Bye-bye! Here we go!
Special.
Hadouken!
And the battle continues. Fight!
Hadouken! Hadouken! Hadouken!
This is the one we've been waiting for. The ultimate battle for Sparta.
Shoryuken!
I've never seen a combo that
Shoryuken!
intense. What an attack!
Hadouken! Hadouken!
Bye-bye!
Shoryuken!
Bye-bye!
And over to the
Shoryuken! Hadouken! Hadouken! Shoryuken!
And the battle continues. Fight!
Hadouken! Hadouken! Hadouken!
The fight we've all been waiting for. Anything can happen now. I smell a comeback. Will this gambit work?
Shoryuken!
Bye-bye! Here we go!
Could be the last. No one could have seen that coming.
No way I can!
Is this it?
Bye-bye!
KO!
Well, I guess that's about it.
Pick up the pace. Fight! The scales have tipped. This is the one we've been waiting for. The battle for supremacy has begun. You ready?
Bye-bye!
This fighter is in the zone.
No way I can!
Shoryuken!
I'm almost ready to call this one back. Gotta hurt. KO!
Well, I guess that's about it.
Pull out all the stops. Fight!
Shoryuken!
It's been recorded. The fight is
No way I
underway.
can!
Which of these two challengers will walk away?
Shoryuken! Seiya! Hadouken! Hadouken! Shoryuken!
Only up to now.
Seiya! Shoryuken! Shoryuken!
There is chance.
Hadouken!
Ain't over till it's over.
Hadouken! Hadouken! Hadouken!
This could turn it all around.
Hadouken! 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 Shippuden! Shippuden! Bye-bye!
Shoryuken!
Power to your advantage.
Shoryuken!
KO! Ryu wins. The world's fiercest fighters await. Will you be the last warrior standing? Training stage. Your destiny will be determined here. Who will emerge a champion? Fight!
Bingo!
It has been recorded. The fight is underway. Which of these two challengers will walk away? Devastating attack! Where did that come from? You ready? What an attack! There's no stopping this fighter. Could be winning. That lady is a bastard sick. Counter. KO! Pick up the pace. Fight! The scales have tipped. This is it. The fight we've all been waiting for. Anything can happen now. What a rush!
Great!
And the battle continues. Fight! Officially underway. This is a fight we've all seen. The fighter is in the zone.
Criminal upper.
Devastating attack. This fighter is KO.
You got lucky.
Oh, come on, man.
Let's keep it up. Fight! The first hit has been now you can see that fight. Chance of a comeback. Devastating attack. Now you can see that coming. KO! Cody wins. Perfect. It's survival of the fittest on a global scale. Who among the challengers will make it to the top? Training stage. Fists will fly at this location. It's the battle of the century. Fight! The first kick has been resolved. The fight has finally begun. Which one of these two will emerge on top? Psycho Crusher! There is capable. No one could have seen that coming. KO! No! Will the tide of battle turn? Fight! Hadouken! And there's the first hit. What's next? Now's your chance. Unskillfully, it's now or never. This fighter is in the zone.
So you just get all three again?
Huh?
How do you help? What's the point of helping? Yeah, what's the point of helping? Oh, we cooked there. Okay. I'm so confused. Is this a pair? Oh, get out of here, bro. You lost. You're not part of my squad. I beat all y'all. Oh, okay. We got that. Is that powerful? Ooh, yo, that dive is crazy actually. You just zone out. But how do you target other people? Oh yeah, that sword is crazy. Yipes is right. This character broken. Oh, yo, I'm in here. I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of fun. Oh my man, is that a dog? Yo, why do they keep falling off? Come here. Smack. Smack. Oh, nice. These sidestepped? What is this? Is this a boss? Who is this? Oh, so two people have to get knocked out for you to progress. So, okay, so it's a free-for-all. Top 2 lives. I don't want to spoil myself even more. You know, I gotta play that on stream. But that was kind of fun. I would say that was pretty fun. All right, let's check out obviously CVS 2. This is probably the main game that I'm gonna be playing personally. I love the fact that we got hitboxes on this, bro. Oh man, it's been a long time. Let me lock in. Oh no. Am I not good anymore? The show you can. Oh, this is why boss don't play this character anymore. All right, this is why boss don't play this character anymore. All right, hold on. Yeah, I could do that one. That's easy. We could do Iori for the roll cancel. We gotta see if roll cancel still exists. Yeah, that was roll cancel right there. Like you could tell by the roll, like it's a little roll. It's like really fast. But if you hit roll, if you input the buffer of the motion, so half quarter circle back, and you put plink roll and heavy punch at the same time, then you'll get that. It's like it shows a little bit, but it's kind of hard to see really. It's not easy to see, that's for sure. We have the characters. We gotta play Shin Akuma, right? Look at this. This is gonna be rank match. You think they're gonna allow this on rank match though? My man, I'm playing this on rank. Nah, there's no way they're gonna allow that on rank. I don't believe they're gonna allow that on rank. I think it's like jump medium punch. Look at that. Hey, I don't remember the combo. What I was supposed to do? As I know it's hoo. I think it's like jump medium punch or jump heavy punch. Cancel in the fireball and then rinse and repeat. Oh, there it is. And how do I do the super? No, not that one. I want the dive down. CVS2 runs really well though. I wonder if people are gonna play the PC version or PS4 or Xbox. What's my? I don't remember my. Yeah, there it is. DP is with double fireball punches. 3-on-3 single. Oh, so you can do battle types. 3-on-3 single match, ratio match. C characters enabled version. EO version standard. EO version standard buffs P Groove. So P Groove, you can do really cool stuff. So let's see if we can pull it off. You could special cancel your special move. Yes. I love that. That's so sick. P Group should always have had this. I always wish it had it because it was like it already is there in Third Strike and Street Fighter 3, but they didn't put that in this one. I wonder if they thought maybe it was too strong because the level 3s do a lot of damage. So I'm glad that's a thing. That makes me really happy that CVS2 has that. I'm wondering if I can play EO Standard online. Okay, so let's check out Alpha 3 Upper. Never really played this version. I made a video on it, and you know I played Fei Long. It was kind of jank for the most part, but I actually haven't. I mained Sakura from my previous Alpha 3 videos, right? But it's really cool that you have all the characters here, so you don't have to go for like the random select how to pick them. I mean, I don't know. This might have some promise, to be honest, actually, because there are some games where I'm like, I'm probably not gonna try out. But looking at the character select screen, this character select screen is pretty darn awesome. I just want to see if my custom combo still works. Hey! Oh wait, why did it drop? Hey. The sound effect feels different though, right? It doesn't feel like the sound effect from Alpha 3, but it is Alpha 3. Maybe it's the upper part where the hits doesn't feel like arcade Alpha 3, but even then, was there really an Alpha 3 upper? Like arcade version at least. I know there was like a console one, but I didn't know there was like an arcade version. All right, what do we have here? So okay, we got DP. Oh, that didn't do that much damage actually. No, this is definitely Game Boy Advance. Ouch, that's definitely Game Boy Advance. But why does T-Hawk? He look kind of hyped though. I'm not gonna lie. Yo, ew. That's his sweep. Yo, why his sweep is like the slowest in the game? The Exism only has one super, if you remember. It's like only that. So every character in Exism only has one super. But it just does more damage than usual. But they also take a lot of damage too at the same time. Oh, yo, the boot, my man. That. Look at that. Oh, too bad I don't hit crouching though. It does good damage though. Oh, is there like just defend sort of? I see myself turning blue a little bit. That looked like a good ass poke too. Look like Zangief stand medium punch, but in stand fierce form. The hole. That's pretty good. The tech on that one. Yeah, if I tech 3 punches, that move automatically comes out. He's a Vegeta. I ain't gonna lie, T-Hawk looks kind of sick in this game. Yeah, I think the Alpha 3 upper runs pretty well actually. Let's try Project Justice. You know, making this video for you guys, like, I'm definitely extremely happy for this game, this collection. It also is like giving me like, oh, okay, do you remember how to play? Let's go back to memory lane and warm up those hands of yours. So I played Roy in this one. I only know how to play Roy. It's a 4-button game. There's throw. I think throw is just 2 punches and then, yeah, 2 kicks is sidestep. I think you get a dash afterwards. I remember Roy definitely was broken. And then there's the triple team.
Hi, this is Dr. Paul Steinke.
Folks, I'm here with Capcom Fighting Collection 2. This game is not out yet, but Capcom was nice enough to provide me with a preview build to show you guys. First of all, just check out this song. This song's kind of hype, right? Hold on, let me turn it up. Yo. We got rapping about special moves like the old days. Let's go. So I am not able to show you every game and every mode in this build, but I'm going to show you the ones that I can. We can go through the games and see why I think a lot of these games are really exciting, and I'm really glad that we're getting a super accessible way to play all these. So it's quite an eclectic collection of games here. There's some interesting choices, but I feel like the main purpose of this collection and the thing that all these games have in common is it's all kind of the Dreamcast era. It's all the Naomi platform for Capcom, so we're kind of giving us an accessible way to play these games, and some of these either haven't been re-released in a long time or there's just not really like a good way to play them, which I'm really happy about that we have that opportunity now. And you know, Capcom vs. SNK 2 is probably like the headline game, kind of like how Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was with the last collection. But as for the game in general, like, why is CVS 2 so popular and so beloved? I think it's the game in this collection that still sees the most tournament play. Like, there are still side tournaments at majors that get a decent amount of entrants. And one of the reasons I think is right here, which is the grooves. So these really change up the way that you play. And I think the differences between the grooves and the fact that, you know, not only do you have this huge roster of characters, but also they play very differently depending on what groove you pick, I think just adds a lot of texture, let's say, to the game, and a lot of depth as well. You can see we have access to the secret boss characters. I believe... In ranked, obviously, you're not going to have access to these guys. And I think in unranked, it's a setting you can toggle. Like, you can choose whether people are allowed to play with the boss characters. But here in arcade mode, we can obviously just pick whoever we want. And also, I'm not going to be able to show you guys online, I don't think, because I don't think anyone has this version. So I don't think there's anyone online playing with the preview build. But yeah, I can show you what I can with the games regardless. So yeah. But beyond the boss characters, there's a couple other interesting little things in here. We've got, you know, the marquee card for every game. I just think these are kind of cool, very nostalgic. And some of them have, like, the character move list if you want to look at them that way. But obviously, you can just look at the regular move list in here. We've also got, you know, all the different wallpapers. Of course, you guys know I picked the best wallpaper here. And then the filters, you know, I tend to not really like these like CRT scanline type filters. I also think when I'm looking at my recording window, this looks really weird, so maybe it'll come out badly in the video, but you know, in person it looks decent. I just kind of am used to the super clean unfiltered pixels. But yeah, if you are a filter person, wow, this one is like super scanline. That's crazy. If you're a filter person, that option is there. And you can also do, you know, 4:3 versus widescreen stretched. If you're a psychopath, why would you play? Oh God, get it away! No, don't play like that. Other settings of note here, you know, we got the secret characters you can enable or disable. Same character select. This is like if you want to have 3 Chun-Lis on a team, you can turn this on and do that if that's what you're into. Sound style is interesting. You can have the original soundtrack or you can have a fully remixed soundtrack. Every song is different and the announcer is different. Personally, I find the soundtrack and announcer of CVS 2 very iconic, so I don't know if I'll have this on when I'm playing normally, but for the purposes of the video, I'll show you guys what it sounds like. And then this one, version, original or EO version standard. This is very interesting. For now, we'll have it on original so I can show you the difference here. Let's hop into training mode. So here we are. Yeah, you can hear the music is different. It's a little, I don't know, it's a little dance clubby. I don't hate it, but again, the original OST is so iconic that I don't think I'll be using this in real matches. But here in training mode, we have some interesting settings. So, you know, hitboxes you can have on or off, input display and attack display, whatever. Obviously, you can do dummy record and playback. So let's do that. So that EO setting that we were looking at earlier, you know, the EO version, the main purpose of that version is it removes roll canceling. So you guys might know about this glitch. Roll canceling, probably like one of the most important glitches in this game, or, you know, in fighting games in general. It's super iconic. So, you know, you can roll through attacks. Rolls have invincibility. But if you cancel a roll with any attack, you Kara cancel it, you will still get the invincibility. So let me see if I can do it here. Yes. So normally, obviously, if I taunt, I get hit by the fireball. But if I do a roll first, I do roll cancel taunt, I can go through. And I'm just doing taunt because it's like the easiest one to do it with. But you can do it with any move. Let's see. Like, let's see if I can do it with a Blanca Ball there. Yeah, so having a invincible Blanca Ball is pretty cracked, right? You can see the execution's quite hard. I'm struggling to do it consistently. Boom, like that. So yeah, an invincible Blanca Ball is kind of cracked, and obviously you can do that with any special in the game. Make any special in the game essentially a Dragon Punch if you have the execution to do it, which, you know, I don't really. But anyway, EO gets rid of that. So if you want to play CVS 2 with no roll canceling, that option is available. There are other balance changes in EO version as well, like I believe P Groove is very buffed in EO version. But K Groove is also pretty OP because K Groove was one of the best grooves anyway without roll canceling. So yeah, removing it from the grooves that have roll is pretty ridiculous. So yeah, if you are interested in that version, the option is available to you. But I think the purists are probably going to stick with the non-EO version. But that's enough about CVS2. Like I said, this will probably be the game that I'm putting the most time into in the final game, just because, yeah, this is like the competitive title. It's like the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 of this collection. But let's take a look at CVS1. I believe this is the first time that people have had the opportunity to try CVS1 in this build. So let's check it out. CVS1 is quite an interesting game. If you're used to CVS2, it's kind of a weird one. I'm going to be honest. So there's only 2 grooves now, Capcom Groove and SNK Groove, and they really don't change the characters that much. It pretty much just changes how your meter works. So there's no, like, they both have roll. Neither one has short hop, stuff like that. So, yeah, the grooves are definitely a lot less varied than they are in CVS2. And now we have this very interesting character select where instead of picking any team you want, like in CVS2, characters are just built to be worth different amounts. So, like, these boss characters are worth 3 spots on a team, and I guess these kind of, I don't know, goofy goobers are only worth 1. So you can actually have a team of 4 characters if you want. But I think I will do a team of 2-1-1. Let's do like this. We'll do Turbo. Of course, you got to play Turbo in all these games. Let's do Yuri, Dhalsim, Morrigan. And then the other weird thing about CVS1 is that it's a 4-button game. Light punch, heavy punch, light kick, heavy kick, like KOF, which is quite strange. So it does feel a little strange to go back to. By the way, this game's stages are amazing. How cool is this one with the spotlight casting the shadows? That's so creative. So, yeah, really a big fan of the stages and the presentation in this game in general. I just really like. So, yeah, CVS1, probably not going to see as much play from people as CVS2, but it has some cool aspects. Also, some of the character portraits are insane. Check out this Raiden portrait up here. He's like staring into your soul. And then on the marquee here, you can see Morrigan's portrait. If you pick Capcom Groove, just like in CVS2, the groove that you pick affects the portrait. That's her SNK portrait. But hold on, I gotta go to training mode and show you guys Morrigan Capcom portrait. Oh yeah, so this game also has a remix soundtrack option, but instead it's called Nostalgia Remix. So basically, instead of like remixing the songs, they just went around and they picked and chose some games from throughout the history of Capcom and I believe SNK too, and put their music in the game. So like, for example, you can pick this train stage, and I gotta pick Morrigan, Capcom Groove Morrigan, and now you'll hear that I think we have Fatal Fury music, right? Isn't this like old school Fatal Fury music now? So that's kind of cool. Once again, CVS1 has a great soundtrack, so I don't know if I will be using this option, but you know, if you're tired of hearing the same songs over and over, this is pretty cool. And it's like a fun little thing to go to all the stages and be like, oh, can you pick out what game this is from? Like, I think that's pretty cool. By the way, check out the amazing Morrigan portrait. I don't know why. Like, I'm just captivated by that portrait. I really love the Cammy one too. Over on the left, you can see Cammy has such like a, I don't know, a look of disdain. But yeah, one interesting thing about this game is that, you know, like I said, it's a 4-button game, but a lot of characters, you can access extra normals by pressing forward plus heavy punch or heavy kick. So you can see, like, this is Morrigan's medium punch. It's just tied to the heavy punch button. And then if you press forward plus heavy punch button, you get her actual heavy punch. So, yeah, that's how you can do, like, full combos with her. Like that. So you can do, you know, down heavy punch into down forward heavy punch and stuff. So that works. But yeah, unfortunately Morrigan can't do her fast overhead. Her dash does not have like the floating thing like it does in certain grooves in CVS2. So yeah, I think she's not as fun in this game as she is in CVS2, but she's still pretty cool. Okay, so that's CVS1. What about this one? Plasma Sword, Nightmare of Bill Stein. So I think this was kind of Capcom's attempt at doing like a weapon fighter, you know, maybe like Soul Blade or something. And this game has some very interesting mechanics. It has a lot of characters, but the characters that are like above and below each other play pretty similar. I think there are minor differences, but I mean, you can see these guys also look similar. They play very similar, so it's kind of like there's half the roster of how many it looks. But this guy is probably the most famous character, Hayato, because he is in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. We've got Bill Stein himself, you know, from the title of the game. And, you know, this game is kind of wild, man. Yeah, you can see it's got sidestepping. So this is also like a 3D-ish fighter from Capcom, which is quite rare. But Guile Winquote did a whole video about this game, and it's actually really interesting. So definitely check that out if you want to learn more about like the lore and the reason why this game exists and some of the interesting mechanics. My personal favorite thing about this game is like the activation mode that you can go into. You can see it makes Hayato's sword like absolutely massive. So everyone has like a power-up mode like this, and they're all really different, and some of them are really wacky. So like Saturn's power-up mode, he summons these little doll bombs that just go absolutely crazy on you and explode you. So yeah, that one, bro, that's insane. Also, he fights with yo-yos, in case you guys didn't notice. So yeah, this guy is a really interesting character. But easily my favorite power-up mode has to be Kaede. You play literal whack-a-mole. I think the opponent gets to pick where they come out by pressing different buttons. You have to like make the read. Oh my god, that did so much damage because the AI doesn't know what it's doing. I'm just destroying the AI here, racking up massive damage, bro. Yeah, this one is sick. This is the one right here. So yeah, there's some really goofy and fun stuff in this game. Definitely worth checking out. And again, like, having online with this, by the way, I didn't mention, but all the games have online. They all have rollback. So yeah, like that's pretty hilarious. Speaking of 3D games, we've also got Project Justice, which is a super fun and interesting game. Some of these characters might be familiar to you guys. There's Batsu, who was playable in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. Kyosuke is in Capcom vs. SNK 2. Akira was in Street Fighter 5, which was pretty cool. We also have Pete Akira with the with the motorcycle helmet on. But of course, my favorite character is Chairperson. You gotta play Chairperson, and then you can pick your partner as well. And I mean, like, I don't know, guys. I feel like this game's graphics kind of hold up. The cartoony style, like, really works. By the way, in case you guys missed the announcement, they recently announced that in the Marvel vs. Capcom collection, or, you know, the Arcade Classics collection that has Marvel 2 in it, they're releasing an update that has some new features like local versus. Right now, to play versus, you kind of just play arcade mode and player 2 presses start, so you have to reselect characters every time. But yeah, now there's going to be local versus with an actual rematch, and there's going to be the option to like increase the internal resolution of the 3D, so like the stages will look better in Marvel 2. Allegedly, that feature is also coming to this. It's not in right now. But they claim that there's going to be a patch on day one that is going to add all that stuff that's getting added to the Marvel collection also to this. But right now, we're kind of stuck at one resolution here. But yeah, Chairperson is meant to be, I think, like a joke character in this game. Like, she has this lecture attack, which I really like. A burning vigor attack. Wow, that did like no damage, but listen, it's fine. She also doesn't have like a true launcher. She has like a mini launcher only, which is a lot harder to follow up. You see most other characters have like a full launcher that they can do like, you know, air juggles off of and stuff, but yeah, she doesn't really have that option. But she does have one of the best team up attacks in the game. So here, let me take some damage real quick. Okay, so we took hella damage. By the way, how amazing is this stage? I absolutely love this stage. And then here, let's turn off auto recharge for our guts gauge. I'm going to burn a little meter real quick. So you can see when I land this team up attack, it's going to completely refill my meter and fill up a bunch of my life, which is kind of insane. So yeah, actually a really powerful thing to have. So Chairperson, you know, might not be the best character, but as a team up, she's pretty interesting. Here, I'll do one other team up here just for... Ooh, the intensity! Bro, this game's like... Oh, this game's like style and sense of humor is so good. it holds up. So yeah, really glad this one's in the collection as well. And then we've got Power Stone too. I mean, like, this is one of the ultimate like couch games, play with your bros. Like, this was so much fun back in the day. You guys already know what it is. I think I gotta go with my guy Wang Tang here. Let's go. And this game was all about the stages. I think my personal favorite was this one, the airship. I feel like this was the one that like blew my mind as a kid when I saw the transitions and stuff. And man, the like little castle map taking you through the arcade mode is so nostalgic, bro. And obviously, this is a 4-player game. I assume you can play with 4 people locally. I don't really know how I would set that up, like in terms of controllers, but theoretically, I think that's an option. I don't actually know. I'm just gonna play until we get like the stage transition, guys. Even though part of me wants to just play all the way through, part of me wants to just keep playing and do all of arcade mode, but I think that would make for a pretty boring video for you guys. But here we go. The airship's falling apart. Oh yeah, I forgot you can get in the turret, bro. Like Star Wars. This game is so goated. All right. We're stage transitioning. The airship's falling apart. And now we gotta make sure bro, I'm getting comboed by the chef here. Where's my umbrella? Please. No, I don't need a banana. I need an umbrella. There it is. No, I didn't get it. So I'm gonna take some damage. Oh my god. So yeah, this game is so iconic, so sick. I can't wait to play this online, man. Come on. It's gonna be ridiculous. Okay, I gotta pull myself away. I can't. I'll just end up playing this whole thing if I don't stop. And then the last game that I am able to show you guys today is Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper. This is a pretty interesting one. So you guys might wonder, you know, if you're not familiar, like, why is this version never really talked about? Everyone plays original Alpha 3 and not Upper, even though this was like the last version, the later version that came out after. So why is that? Here, let's go with Junie. There's kind of 2 main reasons I think that this version isn't really beloved. One of them was the original version was meant to be played online in the arcade, and to facilitate the online working better, they added input lag. So people would complain a lot back in the day that the game felt laggy, even on the home console version, because they didn't get rid of that input lag. Now, I have not done any kind of frame-by-frame testing, but to me, it does not feel like the input lag is here in this version. Like, when I press jab, the jab comes out, like, instantaneously. So, again, like, I haven't tested it for sure. Someone with more know-how is probably going to have to go in and find out if that's actually true. But to me, it feels like they got rid of the input lag. So that's nice. That's one of the big complaints gone. And the other reason why people don't really play it, I know this sounds weird, is that they removed the V-ism crouch cancel glitch, which, if you guys aren't aware of, basically allows you to do really crazy combos in V-ism and even some infinites. So you have to abuse this bug called crouch canceling, and that's where like the craziest combos in the game come
We're
from.
live on stream.
Reese
is getting like, some Mexican candy on the FaceTime.
It's also like, you know, kind of the thing that differentiates this game the most, I think. So people are kind of not fans.
What's up, y'all? I'm gonna shout out to my YouTube viewers. Can I get a like to the stream,
it's
please?
Like a unique mechanic that everyone spent a long
time. That'd be very much appreciated. Y'all leave a like.
You know, part of the identity of the game at this point. So the old school players don't want it gone. So they didn't like the fact that they got rid of roll canceling. But I can show you guys, or crouch canceling, I should say. I can show you guys here in the game settings. Here, you can turn it back on. So if you are a crazy hardcore person who wants to play with crouch canceling on, well, I'm just gonna see if it's there in the online mode. Is this setting still here? We do like rank.
There you go.
We go to Alpha 3 Upper and look at the rules here. Okay, so crouch canceling is off.
What the fuck?
Which I think means you can't do infinites. So yeah, in ranked, I think this is just forced off. However, you make a lobby. You can customize these settings to your heart's content. So you can play online with crouch canceling and V-ism infinites, but ranked you cannot. So, you know, if you are a hardcore Alpha 3 person, you want to do the V-ism infinites, it's not going to work in ranked, but again, it is there in custom if you want it. And I just like that they gave us the option, you know, like if for some reason you want to play Alpha 3 with online, and you know, the option is there. So I think that's pretty cool. By the way, there are a couple kind of undocumented secrets in this game that I wasn't able to find this anywhere in the actual game, but I think you know, the old school people might know about this. So one is the secret characters. You might have seen, you know, there's an option to enable the secret characters, but they're not here. So if you guys are wondering how to pick them, it's pretty simple. You just hold start and then pick your character. And so that's how you get Shin Akuma and Final Bison. In order to do that, you just hold start and pick them, and you get these super broken versions. And again, these are not available in ranked, but yeah, if you're playing just for fun, you can play as these guys. But not only are there secret characters, there's also secret modes in this game. So the way we do this is, I'm gonna hold all 3 punches, and then press start. And you can see in the upper right it says survival. So now we're playing survival mode, which is, you know, slightly different than regular arcade mode because it's best of 1 round, and then your health carries over. But you get a little bit of health when you win. So yeah, this is just like a unique mode that has always been in Alpha 3, which I think is kind of interesting. So yeah, you can see as the round ends here, I'm gonna get back a bit of my HP. I assume it scales. Wait, I get it all back? Is that true? Do you get less back, or do you always get it? I don't actually know how this works. Clearly, I've never played survival mode very far. Hold on, I'm gonna play a few more rounds and let the timer go lower and see what happens. All right, I took way more damage that round. Am I gonna get it all back still? Okay, I didn't get it all. So yeah, it must like scale with how far you get in survival. That's what I'm assuming. But there is another secret mode, which I think is even more exciting. This one, we hold all 3 kicks, press start, and sure, I guess we'll play Ryu. But check this out. We got 2 fights. It's Ryu and Ken. Yes, this is dramatic battle mode, where you team up against the AI. So this is kind of like, bro, we're just going nuts. We share a meter. So, you know, the AI just used up all my meter, so that's kind of fun. But what's really good about this, and I did test this to make sure, boom, you can see I joined as P2 with my other controller, and now you can play local co-op in dramatic battle. They can even pick their character, you know, whatever. You can give them Zangief. And you guys can team up and go through arcade mode together, which I think is really cool. Like if you want a mode to like play with your little brother or like your friend or whatever, this is an awesome one because yeah, you know, you guys know the feeling when you're like a hardcore fighting game person and you have a friend who doesn't play, and like it's not that fun to play against them because you'll just like, you know, destroy them. So in this you can actually work together, which I think is great. So yeah, that is in this mode. I don't think there's any way to play this online, unfortunately, but that would be kind of cool. Ooh, Ryu died, and now it's Zangief, bro. I'm coming in. Okay, anyway, that's dramatic mode. And then there's one other little secret that I want to show you guys here. So we just start up the game like normal. And this time, we're going to pick our character and our ism. So sure, let's do X Balrog. And then we hold start, light punch, medium kick, and heavy punch. Like that. And I hold them through all this, and you can see you skip straight to the end boss. So if for some reason you guys just want to see all the endings in this game, this is definitely the fastest way to do it. So yeah, it's kind of cool. Like, I guess it makes sense that this is, you know, just a port of the arcade version, but it's cool that all this secret stuff is still in there, bro. This Bison is so cracked, although I think by default the difficulty is only 2 stars in this. You can turn the difficulty up or down if you want. But yeah, the Bison he's a lot easier on 2-star difficulty than he is back in the arcade days. I don't know what it was set to in the arcades back in the day, but yeah, it was a lot harder than this. Anywho, that's Alpha 3 Upper. You know, a neat little inclusion, a version of the game that people don't play that much. I don't even think there is like a good way to play this before now, at least online there definitely wasn't. So yeah, it's cool that it's included, but that is all I'm able to show you guys today. Obviously, I'm really excited for, you know, CVS 2 kind of coming back in the spotlight a little bit. I love this game so much, but all these other games are cool too. And, you know, Power Stone 2 online. I mean, bro, we would have dreamed of this as a kid, man. It's been so long since we've gotten any kind of Power Stone from Capcom, so I'm really happy this is coming back. But once the full collection releases, I will, of course, be making a lot more content for it. So I hope to see you guys then. But for now, that's going to be it for the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.
There are several other things that I would prefer to talk about. That's the overall quote-unquote like state of fighting games. We definitely got to talk about this shit. And I would like to make some astute observations just because in my space, I've had to be around a very large majority of fighting game communities from casual to competitive over the past like 15 years of my life and see what they think and respond with what their grievances are, what's good, what's bad, like all that kind of stuff, right? There's a lot of turmoil in the modern fighting game space, and it's really difficult to take the entirety of it, so it's best we just like focus. So let's just focus on several things that have gone down over the past 2-ish weeks, and we'll just like boil it down, or things coming to a head, you know, that kind of stuff. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. So that's Tekken 8, that's Street Fighter 6, that's also Fatal Fury, a game that's not even out yet. Okay, let's be real. Let's also put in MK1, because MK1 I think is a much better contrast / representation of what is going on and the comparison of what's going on to all of them. What I'm gonna do is we are gonna dig deep now. We're gonna dig deep into our psyche, into our personal feelings about what's going on with fighting games, and we're going to pull out the deepest, darkest, most negative, gut-wrenching reactions about every single one and compare them to every single one to figure out which one feels the worst, which thing is going to actually make us feel the worst. Actually, I'm not doing that. I'm going to provide maybe a slightly more interesting take. The issues that are happening with all these fighting games almost have nothing to do with each other, and they are all severely unique things for every game, and we're sitting at a unique period of time right now where all of this stuff sort of came to a head at the same point or is happening in the same week. So let's just like break it down. Obvious thing, Tekken 8, okay? Yeah, we get what's going on. There's an issue with the current game's balance, a commitment to the absolute insanity that was the first season of Tekken 8. All things considered, Tekken 8 was already a game that like allowed you to explore and do some pretty crazy stuff with those characters and things. And now they just want to like extend that to a way higher degree that is starting to piss people off. So yeah, we all know kind of the discourse behind Tekken 8, and it's the fact that in my eyes the developers chose to change way too much in the direction that we were not anticipating, much less they said. So that's what's going on with Tekken 8. It's like, okay, yeah, they changed a lot, but they did it in the opposite way that we all thought they were going to do, and now it's leaning in a direction that is kind of scary and weird if this is the future of the game. Okay, sure, I get you. I'm with you. I completely agree. Let's talk about Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 has almost the complete exact problem. Street Fighter 6 is a game that has been out for almost 2 years, and the only thing that has had adjustment to its core mechanical systems is the fact that Drive Rush went from being a forward input to 2 buttons, right? Forward to 2 buttons. This game is getting close to like 24 months of existence, and the way you play the game pretty much has almost not changed at all. Yeah, reversals, also like being able to do wake-up reversals and stuff. The mechanic is still there. The way you change it is like slightly different, right? They made it so that you can't really screw up a drive reversal like on Wake Up. So most of those things are still functionally the same game that you have been playing for like the past, here's what's crazy, it might even go all the way back to the old betas. I got a fuzz in my hair. The game has been no shit, the same game, we're just adding characters. New characters, not really any big changes, just new characters. How is that bad? Is it fun? Why change it? Great question. It is fun. Why change it? Because anything, if you play the exact same thing for too long, is going to get stale. Especially if it's like a headliner game like a Street Fighter. Street Fighter 5 went through way more changes significantly quicker in the time frame it had, much less Street Fighter 4 also went through way more changes significantly quicker. Street Fighter 3 also went through way more changes significantly quicker because within 2 years after New new generation was released, we were already at third strike. Right now, Street Fighter 6 is getting like a little stale, and what's really good in the game is obviously really good. There's some very interesting community comparisons of like, you know, Tekken 8 to Street Fighter at the moment, and to me, it's like, they are the exact opposite of a problem. You got one game that people have been playing so long that they're asking for a shakeup in some way, and you got another game that people have not been playing for that long, has already gone through several micro shakeups on the way to its season 2, and by the time season
Once touted as an impressive franchise that dominated college parties and family get-togethers, to one that modern teenagers probably don't even know about, Guitar Hero's fall from grace was massive. How did a franchise with so much potential, 20-plus games, tens of millions of copies sold, and a massive cult-like following vanish into complete obscurity within the span of a decade? Well, to tell this story, we need to start at the very beginning with a game that would change the industry forever. The origins of Guitar Hero began with the formation of two scrappy companies, Harmonix and Red Octane. Harmonix was established on May 10, 1995 by Alex Rogopoulos and Aran Agozi, two new graduates from MIT. The company was created with the goal of making non-musicians feel like musicians, although they had yet to figure out how to achieve this. Their first project was titled The Axe, and as Alex Rogopoulos put it, it wasn't a game, it was a joystick music improv system. And by this description alone, you can understand why it was a cataclysmic failure, selling only about 300 copies. Fast forward to 1999, and the duo have noticed the success of rhythm video games such as Beatmania, Parappa the Rappa, and Dance Dance Revolution. As they faced the reality of their latest business model failing, they decided to shift gears to developing video games. Their first video game, Frequency, released on November 20th, 2001 for the PlayStation 2. It was well received critically, but it sold poorly. Their subsequent titles, Amplitude on March 25th, 2003, and Karaoke Revolution on November 4th, 2003, met similar fates, critically successful, but not quite reaching mass appeal. The issue that Harmonix had with Frequency and their other early titles was that people just didn't care about the ideas these games brought to the table. So this meant that the company could make great games that people loved, but couldn't get people to see and try these games to begin with. They had a marketing problem, and it stemmed from the fact that they didn't have a dedicated hardware controller. You just played their games with a normal PlayStation controller, and that wasn't very fun. Around the same time, Red Octane was established by two brothers, Kai Huang and Charles Huang, on September 10, 1999. It began as a digital games rental service, predating the likes of GameFly and Netflix. The premise was that you loan them games for some cash, then somebody gets to play it while you rent out a title yourself. Shortly after opening the service up, the dot-com bubble burst, kneecapping the entire operation. The brothers scrambled to find a new niche, and as they searched, they noticed the success of rhythm games in Japan. What was unique about games like Dance Dance Revolution, for example, was that they required custom controllers, or peripherals, to be played. Neither the games themselves or the peripherals were sold anywhere in the US at the time, which positioned their rental service as one of the few ways to play them. Of course, you wouldn't have a controller to play them with, so they decided to create and sell their own dance pads to go along with their game rentals. It wasn't much, but it brought in enough cash to help the company weather the storm and build a reputation for themselves. Through this, they also proved to Konami that there was a market for Dance Dance Revolution on consoles in the West, helping to bring the title overseas. Around this time, Roxor Games had just released a similar arcade title to DDR called In the Groove. As Red Octane was looking to expand their operations beyond making hardware, they decided to enter the world of publishing with In the Groove's console release. Still, Red Octane saw that even though Dance Dance Revolution had found some success in the West, it wasn't to the explosive degree that Japan saw. Red Octane wanted to capture that popularity in the US, but the writing was on the wall. Dance games just weren't very popular in Western markets. They had to think outside of the box and find a way to make rhythm games interesting for American audiences, so designing hardware centered around rock and roll instruments like guitars and drums were their best bet. They got a lot of inspiration from a Japanese arcade cabinet series called Guitar Freaks, and began their foray into making an exciting new rhythm game controller that felt like a real guitar. They had great ideas, but they needed someone to develop the game that these controllers worked with. Because remember, Red Octane was not a game developer, they just made the hardware. And this sounded like a simple task, but most game development companies dismissed Red Octane by simply claiming that music games don't sell. But according to Corey Fong, the senior brand manager at Red Octane, they just didn't know any better. So very few companies gave them the time of day. Except, of course, Harmonix. While their music games didn't sell, their work did catch the attention of Red Octane. So Harmonix needed a controller, and Red Octane needed a game. And the perfect partnership was formed. Red Octane agreed to create the peripherals for this new game titled Guitar Hero and fund its development, but Harmonix had to finish it in 9 months and for less than $2 million. Would they be able to deliver? As we all know, short development cycles always come at the cost of something. After all, they say you can only pick two: quick, cheap, or good. But somehow, Harmonix had to do all three. Fortunately, they had the foresight when negotiating contracts with past publishers to allow the company to retain all rights to the code used in their other games. This meant that they weren't working off of a blank slate. They could use the systems from their past rhythm games to quickly craft a working build. And their past titles, Amplitude and Karaoke Revolution, were basically the perfect combination to create something like Guitar Hero. And the amount of time that they saved by having this code on hand would be extremely beneficial to everything else the team had going on. Saving time is one of the most important things when it comes to enabling you to do what you truly want to do. Which is why, when I get tired of cooking, I use the sponsor of today's video, Factor 75. Factor 75 brings delicious, ready-to-eat meals right to your door, and every meal is fresh, never frozen, crafted by chefs, dietitian approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. And the meals are really good too. I've actually been a Factor subscriber for about a year now. Basically, you get to pick from 35 different menu options every week, including low-calorie meals, high-protein meals, keto meals, and vegan or vegetarian meals. And they are really good too. Factor takes the stress out of planning your weekly meals, so you can skip the chaos of the grocery store and all of that midweek cooking fatigue. Help to support the channel, keep these videos possible, and eat better by checking out Factor. Get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders by using my link. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen with your phone to switch today to save time and money and eat healthier. Thank you to Factor for helping me to keep my food costs down and sponsoring this video, and let's now talk about the cost involving Guitar Hero. In order to keep licensing costs down, Harmonix only purchased the rights to do covers of songs and had Wave Group try to recreate them as closely as possible for the game. This was a great solution for the early days of the franchise as it allowed them to save money, but licensing would become a bigger issue later down the line. Throughout Guitar Hero 1's development, the game was an absolute hit with the staff. Not only did they enjoy developing it, they enjoyed playing it. Harmonix was largely composed of musicians, which allowed them to create a game that more accurately represented rock culture, and it was awesome. They even added their own band's songs as bonus tracks. Things were looking great, but only time would tell if the customers felt the same way. Prior to release, Guitar Hero's big break was when Red Octane's senior brand manager, again Corey Fong, contacted IGN and asked them to check out the game. The team at IGN loved it, and people flocked in droves to try it out at that year's E3. Guitar Hero released on November 8th, 2005, and the reception was nothing short of massive. It made $45 million in the first 2 months. The demand for the game was so high, in fact, that Red Octane couldn't keep up. Stores would request as many as 80,000 guitar units, and the best the company could do was 2,500 at a time. It was obvious that the two studios had a smash hit on their hands, so naturally a sequel was the next step. Harmonix and Red Octane knew that Guitar Hero 2 had to be bigger and better in every way imaginable. It needed to include new modes, characters, guitars, venues, and of course, new songs. Which worked out great for them because with the success of the first game, they had far more power when negotiating licensing deals. This allowed for some of the most requested bands to be featured in the track list. It was even possible to license a few master recordings, something that was completely impossible for their first game. In the end, there were 64 songs at launch, 17 more than its predecessor, and each of them came with a bass and rhythm track that could be played separately with a different note chart. This feature essentially doubled the catalog and allowed players to perform as a band in multiplayer instead of just facing off. The game even included a practice mode where players could review specific sections of songs as much as they wanted. It had just about everything players could have wanted in a sequel. So when Guitar Hero 2 released on November 7th, 2006, it was no surprise it was yet another resounding success. It grossed over $200 million in only 2 months, more than 4 times what the first game made, in the same amount of time. It wasn't too long before bigger publishers wanted to cut and made offers to purchase Red Octane and Harmonix. Activision bought Red Octane and the Guitar Hero brand in May of 2006 for a whopping $100 million, while MTV Games, owned by Viacom, bought Harmonix for $175 million later that year. But there was a catch. For whatever reason, likely bad blood between Activision and Viacom higher-ups, Red Octane was forbidden from working with Harmonix again on another Guitar Hero title. As a result, their last title together was Guitar Hero Rocks the 80s, the follow-up to Guitar Hero 2, as they were still contractually obligated to see a spin-off until completion. But after this, Activision would be in charge of all upcoming Guitar Hero games. And while this seemed good at first, it would quickly take a turn for the worst. As a result, Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock was the first title in the series developed by Neversoft instead of Harmonix. While they were well equipped for the job based off of their experience with the Tony Hawk series, they lacked the same musical experience that Harmonix had. This led to many small, personal touches being lost in subsequent titles. Examples include note charts poorly matching the music and a focus on providing a challenging experience instead of one that's fun. Neversoft also decided to play it extremely safe for their first title in the series, barely innovating anything with the sequel. Apart from new wireless controllers, online multiplayer, and the game's increased difficulty, there really wasn't much to set it apart from past titles. Except, of course, the soundtrack. The song count was a whopping 73 tracks, over half of them were master recordings instead of covers, and it included many iconic bands. Even better, Guns N' Roses' legendary guitarist Slash was featured in the story with a song he created exclusively for the game. The track selections were by far the best of any game yet, as many critics would go on to confirm. However, there was one other element that elevated the game's popularity to unfathomable heights, and it came in the form of a new console breaking into the market. The Nintendo Wii was a cultural touchstone when it first came out on November 19, 2006. Not only did it end up becoming one of the best-selling consoles in gaming history, it managed to appeal to new audiences. It was a massive hit with casual players, becoming a console that was synonymous with families and get-togethers, while the Xbox 360 and PS3 became the consoles for hardcore gamers. It had a very particular brand that was a match made in heaven for the likes of Guitar Hero. So when Guitar Hero 3 released on October 28, 2007, copies were flying off the shelves. It was Activision's most successful launch at the time, making $100 million in the first week alone. And even though the game was released on 6 different platforms, the Wii version made up over half of the game's sales. The figures don't even begin to scratch the surface of how it impacted social gatherings either. The game seemed to be everywhere, and everyone who saw it wanted to give it a shot. When they did, they were hooked. It didn't matter that the title didn't innovate in a lot of areas, because to almost everyone playing the game, the franchise was completely new to them. And frankly, it was just a really good game, even if it had some blemishes here and there. But despite that, over the next few years, the Guitar Hero franchise would decline almost as quickly as it started. In typical AAA game publisher fashion, Activision decided that they needed to bring more Guitar Hero titles to the market, with sequels, ports, expansions, and spin-offs being released annually. While things weren't as charming as they used to be, there was still some hope. Activision's access to resources drastically reduced the shortages of guitar controllers, titles could be ported to more consoles simultaneously, and most of these new games did bring some improvements to the series. To many, this shift wasn't even noticeable. Out of the millions playing these games, there weren't exactly a lot of people who were familiar with the underground culture they were originally based on. All they knew was that the series allowed them to connect with friends and family in completely new ways, especially after the enormous success of the Wii, which already managed to bridge generations unlike any console ever had before. The sales figures alone speaks to the impact that this franchise had on pop culture, being the first to have an individual video game generate over $1 billion in revenue. It was a monstrous success, but things would soon go downhill relatively quickly. While all of this was going on, Harmonix didn't want to step away from the genre after Guitar Hero 2. They immediately got to work making a title with the same formula, but with new instruments added into the fray. This resulted in Rock Band as a competitor franchise, sprouting from the foundation of Guitar Hero 2 in 2007. The company's drastic innovations ended up becoming an astronomical critical and financial success, bringing in over $600 million despite the additional peripherals bringing the price tag up to $200. Rock Band wasn't made with the intention of killing Guitar Hero either. In fact, the individuals at Red Octane and Harmonix never actually held any grudges. But the rhythm game arms race had officially heated up. Because of Rock Band's innovation and success, only a year later, Guitar Hero 4 World Tour adopted the drum and microphone instruments. While this was largely a good thing, it meant none of the songs from past games could be imported, including their DLC. This also marked the first title in the series to be able to feature every single song as the original master recording instead of covers. Like Guitar Hero 3, the game was criticized for poor note charting, and even with the new improvements, people considered this game to be the worst Guitar Hero game yet. It had a lot of flaws, but most importantly, the game poorly communicated when a bandmate was failing a song, and there wasn't a way to save them from failing, unlike in Rock Band. This would lead to frustrating situations where the entire team loses the game because one player was struggling. Guitar Hero 4 tried to innovate with the introduction of an in-game music creator, but it was predictably quite limited. Overall, critics wrote it off as an inferior replica of Rock Band, which was problematic. The game was still a huge success in terms of sales, albeit a bit less than Rock Band 2, but the cracks in the series were definitely starting to show. The two franchises were largely able to coexist over the course of 2007 and 2008. In fact, they had almost a symbiotic relationship with how they could innovate upon each other and give back to the bands that they were licensing tracks from. Between 2005 and 2008, a total of 6 Guitar Hero titles were released, and with the success of Rock Band, the rhythm game market would soon be extremely oversaturated. To fight this oversaturation, Activision would do something that would begin the downward spiral that would eventually kill this beloved franchise. In 2009, 6 new Guitar Hero titles came out. Remember, there were 6 mainline titles released by the end of 2008, and by the end of 2009, that number had doubled. It was a mad dash to capitalize on market share and compete with Rock Band, and all intentionality was thrown out the window. One of these new games, Smash Hits, didn't even feature new songs. It was just a combination of the most beloved and played songs of the series. Critics called it the definition of milking a franchise. The excitement for each of these new Guitar Hero games began to fade, and people were quickly becoming overwhelmed with the number of titles on the market. This was indicated by Guitar Hero 5 barely selling 1 million copies by the end of the year, less than a third of the past entry in the series, despite actually being a pretty decent game. But to make matters worse, Rock Band released 3 titles in 2009, further compounding to the oversaturation of the genre. You couldn't go into any game store without being met with an onslaught of rhythm game titles, like it or not. And let us not forget the elephant in the room. The 2008 recession was still being felt heavily by many. Even if you were interested in all of these titles, there were very few people who could actually afford to buy all of these AAA rhythm games, plus the expensive peripherals that they called for. 3 of the Guitar Hero titles that were released in 2009 were minor expansions, coming with less songs and overall polish than mainline releases, but still being sold at a full $60 price point. The last of which, Guitar Hero Van Halen, was ripped to shreds by critics and fans. IGN's Eric Brudvig said, "No effort was put into making it good. It's a step backwards for the franchise and a totally unnecessary release," with other critics like the ones at GamePros tearing into it as well. Unsurprisingly, all 2009 Guitar Hero and Rock Band games performed worse than their publishers had expected. For context, the music genre produced $200 million in 2006, $1 billion in 2007, $1.6 billion in 2008, and now $900 million in 2009. Half the profits, with 4 times the titles of past years. It was clear the genre as a whole was on the decline. Going into 2010, Activision realized this and immediately started to cut back on the franchise. On February 11th, 2010, news broke that Activision was shutting down Red Octane, one of the original creators, and moving staff responsible for developing Guitar Hero controllers directly into Activision. Even worse, Neversoft's Guitar Hero team was set to be dissolved after completing development on Guitar Hero 6. The future of the franchise seemed grim, even if Activision claimed that they were just putting Guitar Hero on hiatus. If these remaining titles didn't perform well, Activision was sure to pull the plug entirely. So, when Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock came out on September 24th, 2010, and received mediocre reviews, it was a death sentence for the series. The title failed to break even 1 million sales, and reviews were at an all-time low, a stark contrast to the glory days of the series. The game was meant to be a return to the series' roots, but it had an incredibly weak setlist that could barely be considered rock. A number of songs didn't even feature guitars as the dominant instrument, a pretty big oversight for a game called Guitar Hero. All in all, the game felt aimless and underwhelming. The last DLC for it was released on April 12, 2011, barely 6 months after the game came out. And on March 31st, 2014, all of the DLC for Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock were permanently removed from storefronts due to Activision no longer holding the licensing rights for many of the tracks. In fact, the track licensing was a consistent problem for the Guitar Hero franchise from the very beginning. In a sense, Guitar Hero relies on the works of other artists to exist. The issue with this is it costs money to license the work of artists for your product. The cost depends on many different factors and can be negotiated with the respective licensing companies, but there are a few points that make costs go up. What you need the song for, whether it's the master recording or not, and how famous the song is. Early on into the franchise, the developers circumvented this issue by creating covers of the songs instead of using the originals, but as the franchise grew, the setlist had to as well. Master recordings and famous songs became a must, and neither of those came cheap. The companies responsible for licensing the songs want to ensure it's profitable and that it won't reflect badly on the artist in any way. This issue would only get worse as DLC was released for later titles, because now they can't just ask for a one-time license. It has to be renewed every so often, and you also need the rights to distribute the song. It lit a fire under the entire franchise that compounded the need for Guitar Hero to always be successful to combat the rising licensing costs. With this in mind, it's more apparent why the poor reception to Warriors of Rock was such an issue to the company. Activision determined that Guitar Hero was no longer the flagship franchise that it used to be. And Neversoft, the Activision studio that developed all of the Guitar Hero games since Activision acquired the rights to the franchise, was in rough waters too. Between the declining Guitar Hero sales figures and the disinterest in the Tony Hawk franchise that put them on the radar, they were no longer profitable, and Activision deemed that it was time to consolidate them to mitigate losses. So Neversoft was shut down in 2014 and merged with another Activision studio, effectively pulling the plug on all future Guitar Hero projects. On the other side of the coin, while Warriors of Rock was a disappointing release, Rock Band 3, which came out around the same time, fared infinitely better with critics, receiving 3 perfect ratings in all and over a 90% on Metacritic. But even with the positive reception, the sales of this game were also only a modest success, reaching a mere 1.2 million units over the course of 5 years. The rhythm game market was officially oversaturated, and no matter what new gimmicks these franchises brought to the table, people just weren't going to be buying Guitar Hero and Rock Band games like they used to. Rock Band 3 did manage to maintain profitability due to the increased price points surrounding the peripherals and the constant barrage of DLC releases, at least for a little while longer. But the truth of the matter was this. Guitar Hero and Rock Band were in an arms race, flooding the market with expensive, somewhat repetitive rhythm games that required upwards of a few $100s worth of peripherals. There's only so much demand for music games, and when there are 20 plus games released in less than a decade, people are going to lose interest. So, while Guitar Hero's fate was sealed a bit sooner than Rock Band's, the failure of both franchises was inevitable. With Neversoft shut down, Guitar Hero fell off the radar after Warriors of Rock. But in a last-ditch effort, Activision released Guitar Hero Live in 2015, using another one of their subsidiaries called Freestyle Games, who worked on another series of rhythm games called DJ Hero in 2009. This new title was supposed to make Guitar Hero exciting again by switching to a 6-finger controller to more accurately represent real guitar strumming, instead of the 5-finger controller that was used from the very beginning. And while this sounded great in theory, fans hated it. Plus, because of this change, no songs from past games were backwards compatible, and you were also forced to buy an entirely new guitar controller, making the barrier to entry even higher than it should have been. The visuals were also completely changed, losing the character and flair that made the game feel fun and exciting, and the notes were also entirely redesigned to a weird 3-note system that made the whole thing feel bland, corporatized, and uninteresting. The game also only had 42 songs by default, and you had to play to earn tokens and hero cash to temporarily unlock the ability to play the good parts of the catalog. The whole system was terrible, and it was honestly a disgrace to longtime fans of the Guitar Hero series. So of course, the game flopped and caused half of the Freestyle Games staff to be laid off only 4 months after the game's initial release. And this failure marked the final straw for the future of the Guitar Hero franchise. And believe it or not, Rock Band never quite met the same fate. Instead of changing everything, Rock Band 4 largely stuck to the same formula, but for next-gen consoles, and saw a huge success, resulting in around $100 million in sales by early 2016. The game's launch catalog, thanks to allowing the importing of past songs and purchasing of previous DLCs, spanned over 1,500 songs. They operated on the philosophy that if you bought a Rock Band song, it should still be yours in Rock Band 4. In 2021, Epic Games purchased Harmonix and they worked on Fortnite Festival. Rock Band 4 would continue to be supported with new weekly DLC all the way up until January of 2024, and all the DLC from Rock Band 3 was also available to purchase, allowing players who also utilized the extensive free importing features to potentially amass a catalog of over 3,000 songs. We don't know what the future holds for Harmonix and future Rock Band titles, but we do know that Guitar Hero's fate is sealed, at least for the foreseeable future. I'm sure Activision will bring Guitar Hero back sometime over the next few years, continuing the same cycle of greedy AAA developers ruining franchises just to bring them back from the dead in the name of profit. Ubisoft developers worked for over 11 years to create what was supposed to be the best pirate game ever made. Tens of millions of dollars and 6 delays later, the game completely failed and was one of the most atrocious AAA game launches in the last 10 years. This is the story of how trend chasing, poor management, and a toxic studio environment destroyed Ubisoft's potential masterpiece. The story of Skull and Bones actually begins in 2013 with the release of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Black Flag was a strange entry in the franchise because it was a mediocre Assassin's Creed game, but a really fun pirate game. Players could expand their crew, learn sea shanties, attack and steal from merchant ships, and engage in both land and sea combat. The pirate mechanics were so beloved that fans were quickly begging Ubisoft to make a spin-off game focusing solely on pirate gameplay. Ubisoft noted the feedback, agreed that it seemed like a profitable and logical idea, and soon greenlit the project that would become Skull and Bones. Simple, right? Fans want a pirate game, and Ubisoft decides to make a pirate game. So how did things go so severely wrong and cause one of the biggest AAA game blunders in recent history? Well, it starts with an extremely painful development cycle. This game took over a decade to make, and the insane delays that the project had were a problem from the very start. Like most major companies, Ubisoft isn't just one studio. It has many studios across the globe, and each branch has its own quirks and culture. Skull and Bones was assigned to Ubisoft Singapore, a small support studio founded in 2008. Ubisoft Singapore was home to two teams that, in theory, were most prepared to tackle this project. Firstly, much of the studio had worked directly on Black Flag, particularly on much of the sailing tech that made the ship travel so satisfying. On top of this, another part of the studio had just wrapped up work on Ghost Recon Phantoms, an online multiplayer game. Each team was bringing a level of expertise to the table that would allow them to make a multiplayer, pirate-focused game that could revolutionize the gaming industry and create something truly special. This project should have been an easy slam dunk. In the early days, it seemed like it was. The initial scope of the project was small and manageable. They planned to reuse many of the assets and foundation of Black Flag, slap some multiplayer on it, polish it a bit, and let the money pour in. If that had remained the plan for Skull and Bones, it's likely that I wouldn't be talking about this game at all. So what happened that caused this to change? It started innocently enough. First, the dev team just wanted to update certain technical aspects of the game, and as the years flew by, the available technologies improved and the reused elements from Black Flag looked more and more dated. For perspective, this is what Black Flag graphics were like in 2013, and by 2018, Red Dead Redemption 2 had been released and looked like this. A straight-up reskin of a game made for the Xbox 360 probably wouldn't have been received very well, so tuning up the visuals and performance made sense. Bad performance haunts me when I'm doing things online, and that's why I'm happy to introduce the sponsor of today's video, Opera GX. Some of the popular web browsers out there feel like they take 88 terabytes to run YouTube alone, and when you're playing the world's first quadruple A game, you want to have some free resources. Opera GX is a web browser unlike the others, and it even has a built-in feature called GX Control that allows you to limit how much RAM the browser uses, and to easily see which tabs are taking up the most resources on your PC. Now, you can run Skull and Bones on ultra-low settings with ease, and you can have Opera GX and your favorite games open at the same time with no issues whatsoever. But my favorite thing about Opera GX is the fact that you can truly make it your own with GX mods. Do you want to hear the beautiful sound of a metal pipe hitting the ground every time you type on your keyboard? Do you want a Saul Goodman themed background? With GX mods, you can have it all. Background music, keyboard sounds, opening and closing tab sounds, themes and colors, wallpapers, or a crazy mix of all of these things by customizing what you want in the mod menu. It's all yours. There's even an entire store where you can easily install new mods with the click of a button. Switching to Opera GX is easy too, because you can even use the import tool to quickly import all of your settings from your previous browser, like browsing history, bookmarks, and cookies. It's also compatible with every Google Chrome extension. So use my link below to download Opera GX today to support a cool company and the channel, and thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Now before talking about this, we just spoke about tuning up the visuals and performance of Skull and Bones to adjust for the time it took to develop it. But here's what happened next. More features and ideas started being suggested. If we're touching up assets, why not the gameplay? Why not the story? Why not go bigger and grander? Eventually, the project grew beyond being just a Black Flag spin-off and into a new franchise in its own right. Skull and Bones was born from the ambition and passion of Ubisoft Singapore. Passion is important to game development, but it's not enough. One manager at Ubisoft Singapore would admit, there's nothing in the video game industry that's harder than building a new IP. The dev team knew their project was more than an Assassin's Creed spin-off, but it seemed like that's all they knew how to make. Skull and Bones would go through a drawn-out phase of prototyping. New ideas would be workshopped, suggested, and trashed, only to be picked up again later. At one point, it was imagined to be a Sid Meier-inspired fantasy adventure game. At another, the game was focused on a floating base in the sky. The developers struggled to answer key questions about the game's identity. Do you play as a ship, or do you play as a pirate? Is this a live service game or not? Is the game focused on PvP or collaborative co-op? The lack of cohesive vision led to little progress being made and a lot of time being wasted. Eventually, the team settled on a Siege-inspired PvP-focused experience. There would be 2 teams of 5 players, each with their own ship, that would try to navigate the sea while sinking their opponents. This is the version of Skull and Bones that Ubisoft would present at E3 2017, and with this direction, player reception was pretty warm. Fans were excited to finally get the pirate experience they'd been waiting for years. However, some had reservations about the design choices made. Players didn't just want another live service PvP game with a little single-player campaign. They wanted to leave their ships, explore the world, and have the full open world experience. But hey, maybe Ubisoft would deliver. At the very least, players would soon get the game in their hands and judge for themselves if it was worth the wait, because Ubisoft had announced that the game would be ready by the following fall. Or at least, that was the plan. In reality, Skull and Bones was nowhere near ready for release. Instead, the studio left fans disappointed and confused when it announced just a few weeks before E3 of 2018 that Skull and Bones needed at least another year to develop. To fans, the game's appearance at the previous year's E3 made it seem like, although development had gone through a rough patch, things had gotten back on track. But what had happened behind the scenes that now the developers needed another year? From the outside looking in, it may have seemed like they were making steady, if somewhat slow, progress. But in truth, things were far more chaotic and dysfunctional than they appeared. Long before Skull and Bones got off the ground, Ubisoft Singapore had gained a reputation for being incredibly toxic and poorly managed. Allegedly, senior managers would surround themselves with yes men, refuse to listen to suggestions or concerns repeatedly raised by those on the studio floor, and then sell the higher-ups a version of the game that couldn't be made. Problematic team members who complained or criticized upper management never lasted long. There was always an excuse to send them to another team, project, or even another studio. Workers also complained that the higher-ups often gave conflicting instructions and changed their orders on a whim. Disorganization and lack of clear vision of the development cycle likely came from the top. These problems with the management weren't the only things making the work environment unproductive. I previously mentioned that the team for Skull and Bones was mostly composed of devs who worked on Black Flag or Ghost Recon. In theory, each of these teams would learn from each other's unique experiences to complete this project, but in practice, they didn't mesh well at all. The different things that they worked on had led to the devs forming distinct development philosophies. The Assassin's Creed devs were used to top-down decision-making and handcrafting everything down to the details, while the Recon devs favored a more collaborative approach where new ideas organically emerged and were added to the game. Neither approach was wrong, but they were mutually exclusive. So, when these different organizational styles were combined with no competent management team to guide communication, it of course resulted in disaster. All of these factors likely played a role in the delays. The lack of creative vision and poor work environment made it next to impossible to get Skull and Bones to an acceptable level of polish on time. In particular, Ubisoft was dissatisfied with PvP. Having 5 massive ships roaming around a limited arena made gameplay feel crowded and clunky. There was also a real lack of customization and depth to the game. At this point, the game didn't really have the pirate experience that it promised, but the studio was running out of time and money to make things work. You see, the main branch of Ubisoft was growing ever more aware of how much money was being dumped on Skull and Bones and how little was actually being done. The game not being ready for its 2018 release date seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back. Since Ubisoft Ubisoft proper had to step in. Elizabeth Pellin was brought in to manage Skull and Bones, and she had only
good show.
That was already. He was already knee deep in that motherfucker.
Huge Will Smith fan. That movie, I Robot, watched that probably 3,455 times. I watched Pursuit of Happiness? Yeah. I watched that 10,275 times.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. That movie made me cry.
It made me cry, for sure. Because I was broke at the time, too.
Yeah,
so
I was broke, too.
That's why it hurt so much. You was waiting for your opportunity like he got. That's all. Yeah.
That's going to be me. Remember that one part he was in the bathroom locked in there with his kids?
Yeah.
He had nowhere to go.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, some dude say, man, hurry up, I got to go.
Hold on, let me hurry back.
And then he was getting chased by that taxi cab driver because he didn't have money.
Hey, baby.
He is trying to sell him stupid machine.
Hi.
Yeah, so, and then at the end, it was just a beautiful story,
What's
man.
up? Yeah. What's up, Stinky
I
Butt?
remember he went to a job interview. He didn't even have a, what was it? He didn't have a suit.
A suit. And he came in there with one shoe on.
Yeah. And he just went in there and he killed him.
Yeah, you sure did. God damn.
Yeah, but
the white dude was like, the fact that you came in here looking like that and held it together, I'm going to give you the job.
In real life, that white dude ain't giving you shit.
Hell no.
He probably called him the cops on you. Hey, but anyway, then that incident happened with Chris Rock.
Yeah.
And I was like, the crazy thing about that, Keith and Chris, is that when Chris Rock was telling the jokes, he was right there laughing.
Yeah.
He was laughing the whole time, and he looked over at his wife, and that's what triggered him. Yeah. Everybody knows he's a simp now. Big time simp. But I haven't even watched his movie since. I haven't either. I used to go to sleep listening to iRobot. I used to go to sleep listening to I Am Legend. Hear them zombies coming at you, I fall right to sleep. Yeah, but he did what did he do? An interview? He's coming out with music or something?
Yeah, so he
here now. Okay.
So he has he's doing his little commercial.
I hope it ain't nothing like Summertime. Summertime was cool back in the day.
Yeah, but it ain't gonna go to that. Yeah. His album's not that great. I listened to it. I didn't like it. But
stuck in a time machine, right?
He's doing. Yeah, he's one of those that he had a heyday. It's over. Some artists can extend their heyday. And
some artists can evolve. I don't think
but he's not one of those. Anyway,
shit, I don't know how long I'll be holding my shit.
Yeah, but 3 hours. Today it's real. It's faster. It's got a lot of tempo. It's got a rhythm to it.
Yeah, that first shift, baby.
It's got a thuggery to it. Yeah. An alpha to it. I mean, I think he always
3 hours, baby.
Yeah, the word, the cadence of how the music.
I'm saying, I drink a little bit, but shit, I be holding it to that last
much more intense. So
45 minutes to an hour, I'll be whoo.
Can't rap
that
but now,
make that.
But lately,
do you agree with that?
I've been kind of like how my job set up. I just kind of work
like
ahead a little bit.
If you didn't know who it was,
and then boom, run outside, do what I gotta do.
You know, and
come back, and I'll be able to still do that.
Summertime, it's not like me rapping.
I was still able to secure the job and not getting the whole type shit.
Yeah, it was clean. It was
it's summertime. I could have did that. I could memorize the lyrics and I sound just like Will. Well, don't take no effort.
The funny thing about that is it's crazy because me and Chris was in here talking about it. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the popular songs that he wrote, and he talked about it. This clip that we're about to play is from Drink Champs, and he talked about like some of the rappers that wrote for him, like Nas. Rakim wrote that song.
Oh, really?
Summertime. Yeah, he might have, I don't know the exact extent of how much, but the bulk of that song was written by an actual
writer. Writer.
Yeah, like a writer.
Do you think that takes away from the musician when someone writes for you?
No.
Yeah.
No. If you perform it properly, because like I can write, but if I rap it, I'm not gonna sound right.
What you're gonna eat?
You know what I'm saying? I can write it, but I can't perform it because I don't have the voice and the presence to deliver the song or whatever. So a lot of times you'll find writers that can write amazing songs. They just don't have like that thing that people want to. You know, there's a it factor thing, right? Like when people walk in a room, they want to, like, y'all have it. I told Chris he has it to a certain extent. You know, certain people.
We got the it factor.
Yeah, like, you know, y'all walk in a room and it's a presence. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, the damn twins.
Now I hear you. You're breaking up.
Oh, the damn Tall twins out there.
yeah, I don't have that. So you want to give the music to have the best, so it has the best chance to do what it's going to do. So he's a vessel. He's a
the
vessel.
reason why I asked that question because me being a comedian, we did stuff on stage and stuff. A lot of comedians, they don't even write their own jokes. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I thought that was cheating, but looking back on it,
Yes, my baby.
what you said makes sense.
Yeah.
I can't. You're like some guys. They could just like it's this guy named Earthquake.
Yeah.
He's just telling a story. What he's saying is not funny at all.
Right.
But the way he says
the way
delivers,
it's
funny
exactly.
as hell. He can take anything. He can go up there and tell you the ABCs.
Right.
It'll come off funny.
Right.
You know.
See, the fact of the matter is I can write a song about selling drugs. I can write a song like A to B, like about selling drugs, but I've never done that in my life.
Right, yeah.
It's just, it's a creativity thing. But if I were to rap it, they would be like...
This last couple years aged the hell out of him.
Yeah.
He got them marijuana lips. He been smoking all kinds of weed. He got marijuana lips now. His eyes are getting tight as hell.
He looks
from all that damn weed he's smoking.
Stress. It's stress, you know. But he says a little bit of it.
Well, listening to this album, I felt like you called everyone, and everyone said yes. But I'm wondering if I'm wrong. Was there anybody that you called for this album and they were like, I'm busy or I'm in Costa Rica?
No, there were, you know, there were a couple people who weren't sure about working with me. Really? Yeah, there were definitely definitely a couple people who.
Oh, they thought you was in hot water.
Yeah. Okay. So they was like, we'll wait for the second round. We'll wait for the second round. Yeah, no,
the boiling eggs. Bacon.
Yeah. We'll see, but it was actually that was new for me too. That was humbling. That was real humbling. I was used to when Big Willie called. It was
were they that honest to you?
Yeah. I mean,
that's real.
I was like.
But were they being that honest to you about it?
No, people weren't being honest.
Okay.
You know, they weren't being honest. But I knew that's what it was.
Right.
I knew that's what it was.
Okay. Can't you see it? That dude's a bit sus. He's seriously sus. He did like this. Like if you take I said that's sus like that. Like if you take a straight dude, and pound him about 25 times, about 20, it's gonna some feminine gonna start coming in him. You get pounded. The mannerisms start coming in. You just been. It put the woman in you. Your hands start doing like this.
You know, you get in these moments, and I've had moments in my life where I did something, I was like, and then you step back and you're like, yeah, that was really stupid. Nothing that crazy, but everybody.
Oh, you talking about when he slapped?
When he just slapped, like you just.
That was crazy.
That was just insane. I thought, like, when y'all did the video. I hadn't seen it because I don't watch stuff like that. I don't watch the Oscars. I don't watch Grammys. I don't watch any of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't either.
So when y'all said, I thought it was staged.
Yeah.
I was trying to look for like, okay, when they going like, end scene, you know, and they bring out the little clapper thing or whatever. But when I found out it was real, I kept watching it over and over again. And I was just like, that dude just built up and like that. Whatever that momentum when you angry, and he just did a stupid.
There's a lot of stuff building up.
Yeah,
and Chris Rock was the breaking point.
He was the
he didn't do nothing.
He didn't do nothing. That was decades of anger that he slapped.
He's dealing with something, and you took it out on Chris.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I lost a lot of respect for that dude.
Well, maybe I thought he was like a garbage person, but we shouldn't really judge somebody at the lowest point.
Yeah, but come on, man. You was laughing at your jokes.
Yeah. That's the part that killed me.
See, and then when he's seeing his woman,
that's the thing. Women have taken down so many powerful men.
Yeah.
Your woman. Yeah. The woman is what takes you down.
Yeah. That's what majority of these men in prison because of women.
That's something like I would have, like, if I feel a way about something, I'll address it. I would have addressed it backstage. I would have addressed it offline if I really felt a way about it. But then second to that, like y'all kept saying, he was laughing. Right. He was joking. The room was joking. Like everybody. And then he said it in his apology when he looked over and he saw his wife and she wasn't laughing. She looked annoyed. I guess that's what gave him the fuel to be like, oh my God, now I'm going to go do what I'm going to do. But that's like...
I think he has some kind of trauma with his wife. And he said, I got to stand up for her or I'm going to hear it later.
Yeah.
That's why he did what he did.
Yeah. You know what else is crazy about that story? People actually trying to defend him. No, he's standing for his woman.
People trying to stand up for that Carmelo Anthony kid.
It's the same concept.
It's the same group.
You can't stand up for violence like that. Yeah. That's what pisses me off when people, man, no, he was standing for his wife. He wasn't standing for his wife. I think he was trying to get what little manhood he still had left because she took everything from him.
Like I said, it was all that bottle. He had just got embarrassed a year before at Red Table Talk, where she sat up there and talked about that embarrassment, and then all of the things that people think Will Smith is. All his peers are in the room, and then she's the butt of a joke, and then she looks like she's not enjoying it. And it literally was just like, all right, I had enough. You know
That's
what I'm saying?
why I don't get the outrage by her because she had a bald head, but she's still beautiful. Not many women can pull it off with a bald head. And she looks very beautiful.
Right.
And why are you so offended by that joke?
I don't know.
I still don't get it.
Yeah.
I know she's got, I forget the condition, she's losing her hair. It might be a sensitive spot for her, but you look beautiful. Why else would you come out into the public with that head?
Yeah, that was just...
She just didn't want to be the butt of the joke. That's what I got from that.
She has no sense of humor, too.
Maybe that excuse came up from Will, and you tried to not destroy his character by bringing that up.
Yeah. Man, what was going through that man's head when he walked on stage and slapped that dude?
That was crazy.
And then he walked off like he's like, I really told him.
Yeah.
And then he proceeded to tell him, keep my wife's name out your mouth. What, man? Man, keep my wife's name out your effing mouth.
Yeah.
I said, man, you crazy Negro.
Then he cried when he won the award, trying to be all apologetic. I was like,
they should have stripped him from that award.
Dude, come on, man.
They should have had him handcuffed and everybody made an example out of him. If I was running an event.
Yeah, they told him they let him stay.
You know what's crazy?
And they gave him an award after that.
You know what's crazy? Black people for years were like, we don't get no Academy Awards. We never recognized for nothing. The night you get recognized for something, what the hell you do? Black on black.
And a black dude was actually producing that entire show.
Yeah, that's what happened. I wasn't going to say it. I was going to give y'all some Just Lee Peterson.
Oh, my God.
Everything black people touch it, just turn it. No, he said anything black people touch it, they destroy it. Like you told me, George Bush grew up in Compton.
Who said that? I didn't tell you that.
Yeah, who told me that?
It might have been that Negro that sits in that seat right there.
So I said, what?
Hey, put your camera down.
Well, I have his camera, so I can turn it around.
I forget where I heard that, but I didn't know George Bush went to Compton. He lived in Compton.
Well, I don't know if that's true.
3 hours later.
He grew up in Midland, Houston. Cut all this out.
Yeah.
Just leave it at that. You know what? Will Smith, he gonna be all right. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Will Smith gonna be fine.
He gonna be cool.
You know what?
Yeah, he's got to be worth at least
like when you become
$200 million.
When you become that famous, he's probably worth more than that. When you become that famous, it makes you into a narcissist. He still wants the attention. That's why he's coming out with that music. He wants the attention from people because all that popularity makes you a narcissist.
Yeah, he said it in there. He was like, when Big Willie called,
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like when
It
I call,
changes-
you answer the
changes
phone.
you.
Like, you know,
Yeah,
so
it
he had that
changes.
attitude. And then it switched from after that moment to where people are like, I ain't answering that, you know?
Yeah.
So.
I want to part with you. Will Smith's eyes and got tight as hell. His lips is brown, smoking all that weed.
Yeah.
He probably scared Will gonna snap on me, like kill him or something on set.
Yeah, he looks stressed.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of like things that came out, like like photos of him afterwards or whatever, and he even the way he dressed.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he dressing like me. He got sweats on. They all big.
Yeah.
They don't look like stuff fit. He looks stressed. He look bags under his eyes and stuff. I said, oh, he going through it.
Yeah, he totally looks different from after that.
He going through it. Yeah.
He'll be all right. Whatever he's going through, he needs to walk away from it. Yeah. But hey, you want to sit there and put up with it? Your eyes getting all tight, lips all brown, smoking all the weed. That's not gonna help you. Hey man, how long this show gonna be? I'm just saying, man. You need to learn how to walk away. This was a damn good show. Gotta learn how to walk away, man. Yeah, got a new show for y'all. Got a damn good show. Yeah. Man, Chris found his skit. Man, white people joke about the wrong stuff, man.
You gotta keep it P.
I thought the skit was funny, but you know black people gonna take it wrong. Man, you just think he's got it's like this skit keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and the white dude's just right there, just. You know, once you see one clip, you're like, man, that was crazy. But it keeps going and going and going. I was like, man. Yeah, check this video out.
Check this out, yo.
Hi, I'm Tom Michaels, and I want to invite you to my new laundromat, White's Only Laundry. We specialize in only washing in white laundry, so your linens, socks, and undershirts will look fresher than ever.
Let's go!
There's been an interesting comparison brought up that I want to talk about and review. And it's this video from Core A Gaming from a long time ago that even I think we'll have a different amount of perspective since then, so we can check it out. People sort of blame this video has done irreparable damage to fighting games. This caused the Tekken 8 patch. This caused the Dragon Ball patch. It's like, whoa, okay. I remember that video and it being a pretty nuanced take on balancing and overall like buffs and nerfs. What I want to do, and just to give them the benefit of the doubt, what if we watch it? What if we don't just look at the title and pull a conclusion? Why we should buff more often than nerf. Okay. And I remember this being kind of like an interesting take, but I haven't watched this on stream with anybody like ever. So, and it's been legit almost like 8-9 years since I've watched it. Let's just give Core A Gaming the benefit of the doubt. Let's just watch this take, because this is now the video that everybody is going to is the reason why fighting games are in the rough ass state. And I'm like, oh, how about let's just go take a look and figure it out.
Everyone, the man. In the lifespan of nearly every competitive game, there comes a player that's so dominant that they ruin it for everyone. The man who broke basketball...
Sonic Fox. Definitely Sonic Fox and their relationship with NRS. That is definitely true.
...ball was Lakers legend George Mikan. At 6 feet 10 inches, his unbeatable defensive strategy was to stand near the basket and stop any shot that was about to go in.
Yeah.
You might be surprised that there wasn't already a goaltending rule in place.
Not yet.
Before the 1940s, the thought of anybody able to reach high enough to goaltend was unfathomable. In fighting games, rule changes usually come in the form of nerfs and buffs. Anyone with a Twitter account following fighting gamers knows that having a fruitful conversation about character balance can be difficult.
Bro, and this is old Twitter. This is before you legit monetize people's outrage.
It's no surprise given how subjective and personal it is. It's hard to state your opinions on fairness without looking biased, and if you do it too much, you start looking like a crybaby. This is
Appropriate
about the
sound
time when
effect.
someone steps in and says, adapt. Not only does adapt make for a badass t-shirt, it's a powerful attitude that shows how resilient you are in the face of any challenge. And that was precisely the attitude of the Fort Wayne Pistons when faced with Mikan and the Lakers. Their strategy against the most OP player in basketball was to make a quick lead early on and play keep away from the other team until the time ran out.
Damn. Yeah, we're not beating this guy at the hoop, so we have to win through a technicality. Legit zoning, yeah. Zoning discovered in the year 1948 or some shit like that.
It worked, and the Pistons beat the Lakers 19-18 in the lowest scoring game in NBA history.
Oh my God. That's crazy. 60 straight minutes of stalling.
Of course, this was only possible because there was no shot clock at the time, and as you might have
And so they introduced the shot clock, yep.
guessed, this is why they made one. In the end, the goal...
There was no shot clock, so there was no 24-second possession. They just timer scammed the shit out of the whole... If we can't beat this guy, let's beat him whatever way we can.
Goaltending rule nerfed Mikan, but the shot clock rule actually buffed him by making the teams have to deal with him.
Oh, damn. Interesting. Basketball balance is probably the video that I want to see more than anything right now.
Why would they make a rule that benefits Mikan? Because the ultimate goal of nerfing and buffing isn't to balance, but to make a game that's fun to play and watch.
So, since the history of this video being made, this is 2017, right? The obvious esportsification, he's not wrong. But I think as time has passed since the video, I think the way devs approach the balance of characters is absolutely more considerate nowadays, maybe than it was back in the mid 2010s-ish. Nowadays, I think they take a pretty deep look at some of this stuff. And yeah, for sure, they definitely take a big consideration of what's the most fun. We need to make our game a video game that is actually fun to play. They lean a bit more also into the competitive standard, the competitive aspect. In fact, it sort of bugs me when that's the case with some games and it's very obvious that they're not willing to take changes, get experimental. They're playing some of the game design super safe. Comes across as something that could be sort of apparent. To me, it's like, can you guys just like let it rock?
People wanted to watch him play basketball, not professional hot potato. I think focusing on balance too much can hurt a game in a similar way to how focusing on money too much can lead to an unhappier life.
That is another thing that we have talked about in the past, that like no fighting game is actually balanced, man. And the quality of a fighting game is not dictated by how balanced it is. The most precious fighting games of all time are not balanced. The ones that are looked upon as being the greatest fighting games ever are straight up unbalanced messes. Even the most beloved ones ever are just a literal myriad of horse shit that the majority of characters will have to deal with, and some will never have to worry about that shit, you know? However, the balance of a game isn't necessarily what makes it great. And I've always used this example. You know immediately the kind of person you're talking to if they're asking about fighting games and they come up to you and the person is like, hey, I'm really interested in this game. How balanced is it? You know what that tells me about that person? And I won't like say this to their face, but if somebody comes up, they ask you specifically, hey, I've been looking at this game. I wonder how balanced it is. I know that they are a super casual player. If their impression of what makes a quality game is that's balance, then I know that they actually don't have a lot of experience like playing those games at a relatively middle to high level. They're in it for what they perceive to be a thing that is like the bastion, which is like fighting games are only good because they're balanced, right? And it's like, no, fighting games are almost inherently unbalanced, right? They're almost designed to be unbalanced, that some characters will severely lose to others. So when they win, it's exciting. That's been our overall take on balance, where that doesn't mean that a game should be an unbalanced fucking mess. It means that prioritizing things like enjoyment and fun should be priority. But if the goal of like what is fun is just only to prevent the other person from playing, then that's fun just for one, not for the other. That inherently is pretty imbalanced, bro.
Business scholars call this medium maximization, which Raj Raghunathan describes as the propensity to forget all about the end goal one wants to achieve and to pursue instead the means or mediums to that end goal. Just like how money is worthless by itself because it's paper and metal, balance is also worthless by itself. Street Fighter 1 is the only Street Fighter to be perfectly balanced, but it's boring
because it's a mirror match. If you want a perfectly balanced fighting game, you play the exact same character your opponent's playing. That's all you got to do.
Because you can only play as two characters who fight exactly the same. Obviously, this isn't the 5-5 utopia everyone's imagining, and it's because we want to see a diverse set of characters and movesets. Balance updates are ways to increase the frequency of underrepresented characters and reduce overrepresented ones, but there are different ways of going about this.
So yes, this is the normal process. What he's explaining right here This is usually what we are talking about, where it's like, all right, so maybe the power levels are just a bit too high on some characters. Let's sort of like ease off on the annoying shit and try to like bring up some of the characters that might not have access to some of that fun. But you can't just like, you know, in the Tekken 8 situation, generalize it across the board and give it to everybody. There's a reason why Tekken 8 is the way it is. They almost unprioritized fun, in my opinion. They almost took the things that were unfun about the game and then tried to give it to everybody. To me, that was the antithesis of what this video is representing. The fun is finding the uniqueness of your character, not having every character just have that uniqueness now. So to me, this is a very different situation than what's happening now.
Underrepresented characters and reduce overrepresented ones, but there are different ways of going
What's
about
up,
this.
man? What's y'all on?
One way is to buff the weak. Buffs are exciting and fun, and it's why we have Marvel. Buffs are so awesome, it kind of feels like a Faustian bargain that'll bite us in the ass later if we wish for too.
This is what it's like to be an SNK fan. Buffs are a deal that will bite you in the ass longer if you wish for too much. Anybody keep up with KOF 15 or KOF 14? Every other month, it was like you have your flavor of the month character or characters that were just so goddamn good. And by the time you might come back to the game, that has now shifted. Instead of like trying to even shit out, it was almost like they just were taking the teeter-totter and going foop, 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 foop. And they did that like all the way until the end. It's like constantly.
Too much. But I thought about it, and the worst thing that can happen if everybody gets way too buffed is this.
It's the Tekken 8 Season 2. Let's see how, okay. Oof. Let's just let him say what he's about to say. Corey Gaming from 9 years ago. Let's let you say what you're about to say, and we're gonna take it with a modern era of skepticism and see if this relates or translates to nowadays. Here we go.
This is a hacked version of Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition made by Hungshi Enterprise Taiwan.
All right. Okay, I think I see where he's going. Rainbow Edition technically inspired future versions of Street Fighter 2. A bootleg game because a lot of people had so much fun with it. It was bullshit, crazy ass game, right? But it legit inspired the future versions of Street Fighter to allow it to grow, right? To like how they would implement mechanics and shit. This is an old story. And where are you going with this, Core?
And it was called Street Fighter 2 Rainbow Edition. You've got homing fireballs,
it's complete horseshit.
Unlimited air specials, shape-shifting, and yoga flames coming out of knees. Basically, every character got buffed to the point of absurdity, and while it's a pretty dumb game, it was kind of fun, and I remember dropping in some quarters to play it back in the day. Where else can you do hands Hadouken into jab, teleport, cross-up, standing fierce?
And he has a point. It is kind of fun, but something being kind of fun is not really something that you want to put your time into. And I think that's like broken games can be great, dude. They can be fun. You know, the first time you ever like hold a fidget spinner in your hand, I'm having a good time. Like your stupid primordial brain is being like, oh, this is doing it for me right now. It goes away in like 20 minutes. And then you never hold a fidget spinner ever again or have a desire to do that until the next goofy thing that has some weird brain tickle eventually does that shit.
The game might have been dumb, but it innovated many of the fighting game concepts we see today. Rainbow Edition was actually the catalyst that inspired Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting.
Was it that early? I thought it inspired some stuff in Super and beyond. Anyway.
Which also featured a faster speed, air specials, a teleport for Dalsum, a fireball for Chun-Li, and a sales figure of over 4 million copies on the SNES.
Bro, you can definitely tell. Hyper Fighting lets you do jumping normal and cancel into Tatsu. It's crazy. That shit is still bonkers ass fucking wild to me. Whoa, what the hell are you allowing us to do? Like, this is crazy. It's actually the reason why most people like Hyper Fighting the most of the old school Street Fighters, because some of that shit is not present even in Super Turbo.
Yes, alone. The reason why Rainbow Edition was so interesting and influential wasn't because they just made everyone do more damage and made it faster. It was because they gave the characters new abilities and new options.
Not wrong.
Now just imagine what it would be like if instead of Rainbow Edition, they made a hack called Gray Edition where everybody was nerfed to absurdity. No more specials, no more combos, no more throwing.
Yeah, to be a little critical, of course, take in this video, it's a bit extreme. I have a little bit of criticism here, but he's not wrong. Like that, nobody gives a shit about. We're watching something happen right now in real time in a community where suddenly everybody is going back because it got too extreme. This has happened to the Street Fighter community, to the Marvel community, to several different fighting game communities that I have been invested in or been a part of for many years. Most people just don't move forward. They actually stayed with their game and they enjoyed that game. And they played the next one. They're like, yeah, you know what? This really ain't for me. I'm just going to stay with this. That almost is never the case with the Bandai Namco community outside of maybe a Soul Calibur, when Soul Calibur 3 was really rough. I'm saying this is the first time I have ever witnessed the Tekken community actually move backwards. And there's a lot of contributing factors behind that in the Tekken space. Netcode is a big one, dude. Your ability to even play some of these older games is much harder. If you want to actually get people matches on Tekken 6 and stuff, at least without emulation, that would have been really tough. Anyway, let's move forward. I don't want to interrupt this too much.
We've actually already played this game in 1984. It was called Karate Champ, and it's one of the most honest and balanced fighting games ever made. Nerfing is a good tool for balancing, but it's no secret people generally don't like it. Even Capcom has acknowledged this in a PowerPoint slide that's been floating around last year.
Yeah. The reason this slide became a meme chat is because they did the opposite. There were characters in the game like Alex. Anybody remember Alex? Most notorious one that could have used some help until it eventually took forever. My dude, like this was an issue in Street Fighter V, and they said one thing. When the balance patches eventually happened, they did the opposite. It was like, what the hell? The Alex trailer?
But why do we dislike Nerf so much, even if we understand it's meant to balance the game? Well, psychologically, humans and even apes are prone to what's known as loss aversion. Loss aversion is a theory that suggests that losses hurt twice as much as gains feel good. For example, imagine I offered you to play a game of heads or tails where if it lands on tails, you lose $10. How much money would you have to win on heads for you to be willing to play this game?
I'll give him credit. He's right. Because of Fulgore. And now I think about going back and playing KI, and I want to play a different character. So you're not wrong.
Psychologists found that people would accept the challenge starting at $20 for winning, which is exactly twice the amount you could lose. This suggests that one nerf on your character will hurt twice as bad as one buff of similar caliber will feel good. The human tendency to be loss averse is used by marketing all the time. Why are sales of limited editions so effective? Because missing out hurts, which is why you gotta get that Strawberry Christmas Karen DLC before the season's over. While it can be argued that nerfing is a necessary evil to prevent the game from breaking, there are creative ways to do this that can improve the game instead of just making everyone depressed.
So this is a pretty nuanced take, that you can approach like a game design and you can approach a balancing by making adjustments to characters that would actually enhance other aspects of the character. Just use a couple of really famous examples of when this is done well. Mortal Kombat 1 is currently going through this right now. I've talked about this before, okay? MK1 is in a much better state right now because their balancing as time has gone on has been pretty cool. And what they've done to the game is allowed it to actually grow and become something way more interesting than it was at launch. Let's go back to something that happened definitely way after this video came out. We can acknowledge that there's a point when you can take one of the most busted, fucked up things in Street Fighter V and actually balance it in a way that's genius and putting it into a spot where it still happens, but maybe not nearly as much and maybe a bit more haphazard, and it's his Red Fireball. He is the epitome of a buff nerf. He was nerfed, but he was also buffed. Other aspects of his game plan were legit made better, but they took away the consistency. He is the ultimate burf. The other game that did this around the same time was Killer Instinct, and it's the famous clip from Keats where they talked about nerfing Wind Kick, and everybody else was asking about the healing. Buff, you have to nerf Jago's healing. Jago's healing is crazy. He's getting all this life back. Nerf the healing. Everyone was saying this, and they nerfed Wind Kick. And people were like, what the fuck, you stupid assholes? This is crazy. Why would you nerf his Wind Kick? The devs came to the conclusion the reason that Jago was powerful was because his Fireball was giving him a bunch of healing. It was the fact that Jago was weak nowhere. He had no weaknesses. Because he had no weaknesses, right, the Combo Breaker game was the only way out of that situation for him to get a hit or be controlling. He would just control everywhere. They made Wind Kick not nearly as good. And by that process, yeah, he became like still really good, but not nearly as oppressive. In the exact same way that Cora's explaining here, there are some really good examples since this video's creation that have gone into exactly what he's saying of like, it's possible to like burf characters.
One of the most hype-inducing changes I've seen was actually a nerf. During the life of Street Fighter IV, Ryu's Shoryuken was altered many times. Originally, you could cancel any version of the Shoryuken by sacrificing 2 bars of meter to make yourself safe in case
this is when they made FADC unsafe. Before, your wake-ups in Street Fighter, if you took an FADC wake-up, you were plus. And then in some season, either Ultra or Super or Arcade Edition, they made it so that FADC cancels on block were negative. It was not your turn again.
Opponent blocked. But after a few patches, they removed the ability to cancel the heavy version, which is the one that did the most damage.
I forgot about that.
While this seems like a bummer on the surface, it gave players the option to do a safe but weaker version, or a risky but damaging version. When you had the resources to cancel, but opted for the high damage version, you were telling your opponent that you're not scared and you figured them out.
Yeah, now it's an actual risk reward. All fighting games are made enjoyable because of risk reward options in your head.
I mean, there's making a statement, and then there's just going ham. That is, what is he doing? I think he's going for the record.
This nerf was clever because it gave the player a new way to express themselves at the cost of some damage and safety. In contrast, if we look at Ryu's Shoryuken nerf for Season 2 of Street Fighter V, they just removed his ability to do a meterless invincible uppercut. They actually removed every move like this from the game, which caused some controversy.
This sucks, because the history of Street Fighter is that you have, with some characters, it's part of their tool set, right? The threat of an invincible wake-up, right? Does it lead to anything massive? In most cases, it didn't, outside of Street Fighter 4. But in most cases, it was just a get-off-me tool. Hey, get the fuck off me. I want to make you think about what you're doing for a second. I can just Dragon Punch the shit out of you. This change universally sucked. It's actually the same in Street Fighter 6 for the most part, but at least in Street Fighter 6, you start with your meter. If you use all of your stocks, then yeah, you should absolutely have like your hand slapped in that situation. But this change in Street Fighter 5 was like one of the earliest changes of the game on a fundamental universal level that just sucked. This is also happening to Tekken 8 right now. Tekken 8 took out Key Charge, giving you a counter hit property. Some characters probably had really good Key Charge Oki, but removing a thing like an option presented for the whole game is not worth it. That never feels good, dude.
Predictably, the most common reaction to this was about balance. You often hear things like, "Welcome to what it's like to be Guile," or "Ryu is dead." But what about its impact on the game's fun?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's less fun. You have a game that just has less options. My biggest criticism of Street Fighter V from the very first days of playing it was that we're just playing like a Street Fighter game with less stuff we can do. Like, wait a minute. Why are we limiting characters' basic tools, like the things that gave them identity, to V-Trigger?
Fun. Did this nerf make the game more exciting? Did it make for more creative strategies? Did this allow the player to express themselves in new ways? It might have helped balance the game by making the characters more similar to each other, but as I mentioned before, balance is worthless by itself. Pro player Infiltration actually benefited from this nerf, but still disagreed with it because he felt it made the game less exciting.
무적 시간을 그렇게 조정한 거는 좀 스파 역사를 확 바꿔버리는 좀 개인적으로 마음에 안 드는 변경점이고.
If you look at updates to fighting games like your typical Supers, Ultras, and Ultimates, characters end up overall with more options and more abilities, not the other way around. With more characters...
Yes, go back. Read this again.
If you look at updates to fighting games like your typical Supers, Ultras, and Ultimates, characters end up overall with more options and more abilities, not the other way around.
Yes, they're usually not going to take shit away. They're usually going to move the characters forward in some way to give them more options, to give them more abilities. It's the thing that has made most NRS games super sick. To me, that's fun. That is a fun aspect to grow naturally with the character over time.
With more characters and more mechanics, it starts to look like a nightmare for balance, but you also have more ways to solve problems. A hard matchup can seem more manageable if you can choose from more specials, ultras, or isms, and people like seeing their characters do cool new stuff. Because hard nerfing and taking away abilities can be so depressing and kill the excitement, I feel it should be reserved for extreme cases or creative nerfs that can actually make the game more enjoyable. Because hard nerfing and taking away abilities can be...
Nerfing, taking away things from characters, right? Yeah, big nerfs, taking away a whole bunch of shit can just be demoralizing in general, right?
So depressing and kill the excitement, I feel it should be reserved for extreme cases.
So in some of those situations when it is like really bad, if not like super oppressive or unfun when it's removing fun from the game, okay, maybe we should take a look at that and change it in
creative nerfs that can act
in a creative way. This is what we were talking about, the Jago shit, what MK1 is going through, what Dan went through in Street Fighter 5. those kind of things, you know? You know what is, I think, one of the best nerfs ever in fighting game history? It was to one of the best fighting game characters I've ever played. His name is Dante in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. The bitch had 6 pages of changes. They cut the dude's legs off. It was impossible for him to be nearly as good as he was before. There was no chance this character was going to be as oppressive and as brutally top tier. He was better than any friggin' character that had ever existed in Marvel, maybe going back to like Wolverine in the old games and shit. And they toned the shit down out of him. He's still the best character in the game. Anyway, let's move on.
Actually make the game more enjoyable. And even in games that don't get balance patches, the players will convene and make rules if things get really unbalanced anyways. Regardless, it turns out people still enjoyed Marvel 2 with its infinites and Melee with wobbling. The reality is, a broken game can still be fun, while a perfectly balanced game might not even be touched. Even as the target of nerfs by multiple
I can see how that... yeah, I can see how that take can be misconstrued a little bit nowadays.
And Melee with wobbling. The reality is, a broken game can still be fun, while a perfectly balanced game might not even be touched.
And yeah, that's another bit extreme. That's a bit of an extreme comparison for sure. But what he's saying is true. Inherently a quote-unquote balanced game. We're talking every single matchup. You want a balanced game, chat? Nothing goes over a 6-4. Probably as balanced as you're ever going to get for a fighting game. That isn't just mirror matches across the board. But there are no games that do that shit.
Even as a target of nerfs by multiple basketball leagues, George Mikan was a big proponent of a buff that players like him could never benefit from. He wanted basketball to have a 3-point line because it would give smaller players a chance to score and open up the defense to make the game more enjoyable for the fans. In 1979, the NBA added the 3-point line, and Mikan got exactly what he predicted.
Yeah, because it's true. Like you know that when you're the only one eating, that this isn't fun. Yeah.
Let me know in the comments how you think balance changes should be done, or if there shouldn't be any changes in the first place. This was Gerald from Corey Gaming.
Yeah, so there's a lot of nuance to the video. There's some extreme takes in there that aren't like that extreme. To say that like this video is what inspired Tekken 8 and Dragon Ball FighterZ, if you read the title alone, yes, that's true. If we're to look at this based on what he's saying, his idea is that nerfs should still exist for the interesting characters, but if you just nerf the most interesting character, then no, dude, that isn't a beneficial thing that benefits the game in general. Like removing a character's spirit and what makes them good. I think like the Dante change is one of the best changes I've ever seen in a fighting game at all. Because to change a character that much, they had a lot of consideration of not removing his legs completely, you know? Of not just absolutely destroying that character when they could have. They could have nerfed him into the ground. Instead, they just made him the best instead of being absolutely god tier. What we're witnessing happening in the case of like Tekken and even like Dragon Ball FighterZ, which are the only two that I'm familiar with that have gone through some pretty extreme changes. Tekken and Dragon Ball just took several aspects of the game that might have been cumbersome or weird, or characters that might have had like weaknesses in some ways, and now we're just going to woof. Well, let's just give everybody a chance to win at like all times. That was not ideal. That is not fun. And I think that's the antithesis of what Gerald is saying in this video, that balance should be a focus of fun. And finding and discovering cool stuff of your characters is what made Tekken 8 Season 1 fun. And getting to, you know, learn the habits of the player beyond all that powerful stuff is what I personally found to be the most fun. Breaking the barriers of like the blue ranks and shit, where I start actually playing the person and not the characters. Bamco seemingly went towards a direction that is unfun, that everybody was complaining about, even casuals alike. I don't know what casual looks at Tekken 8 and sees every character doing their crazy ass bullshit, realizing that you're gonna have to lab like it's a college semester in order to learn how to intricately sidestep and move around this shit, and look at that and go, isn't that fun? And to me, oh no, they were this close. You were this close, because making sidestepping way better than it ever was before was the answer. That was a creative, interesting way attacking what he says in this video, the really top tier aspect of the game. That was it, dude. You can make sidestepping better, and all of a sudden, bro, maybe we can move around all the crazy offensive shit laterally. This could be the game. But instead, there's a bunch of shit in the game that is anti-lateral movement. None of it makes sense. None of it lines up with anything that Gerald is almost promoting in this video as well. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to say, I think there's some pretty interesting takes in here. Balance is not a one-trick pony situation to all fighting games in general. It's not. But approaching a fighting game and realizing what makes the top tier characters fun, should everybody have access to that? That's like the situation where the top tiers are up here and everybody else is down here, and you just go up all the way more, right? And now the top is way up here. That's what Tekken 8 did. When I was using the example, tops are up here, everybody else is down here. You do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. The power level of the game goes down a little bit, but you give them new moves, you give them new abilities, like all that kind of shit. You think there's a road back for Tekken 8? I absolutely think there is, because it's only season 2. It might take a whole season for us to eventually get there, outside of like the really difficult and fucked up shit.
Gotta reinvest into the business.
Yeah, so sometimes that mentorship is not there.
There was a lot of different changes in Season 2, and characters that got a lot worse in the new emerging meta. So we're going to talk about the 10 biggest losers. Are these characters completely unplayable, or are they secretly still really, really good, even post-nerf? We're going to break all that down. Now, there's a ton of guides coming on this channel for DPS, support, and tank, including Emma and Cap guides that you're not going to want to miss. And a ton of advanced positioning guides that you have been asking for, so you're not going to want to miss any of it. Smash that subscribe so you don't, and let's jump in. Now, the first character we got to talk about is Bucky. Bucky did receive some pretty sizable nerfs, and let's talk about exactly how much that changes him in the new meta. From a nerf to his hook with an additional 4 seconds, and then on top of that, now his ultimate's less likely to burst through support ultimates with a higher threshold, and the synergy with Rocket is no longer there, replaced with Cap, a synergy that's good, but doesn't naturally fit Bucky nearly as much and isn't as abusable as the Rocket synergy. Bucky is no doubt weaker than he was before. Now, is this character unplayable? Absolutely not. This character, in the hands of someone that is good, is still going to be able to dominate and still going to be able to pull off many of the same plays that they did before. But really, there's a lot of very powerful DPS now, and baiting out a hook on Bucky is a really big deal. Not having a hook for 12 seconds and then just overall having far less hooks throughout the course of an entire game means that if you're a tank, DPS, or whoever, baiting out that hook and then attacking Bucky, pushing Bucky, fighting Bucky is actually something that is reasonable to do. Bucky is not going to be a character also that is going to be building up ultimates faster than anyone else with that Rocket team up, which is one of the main ways that Bucky's would just kind of stomp an entire lobby is with that. Now, if you're really, really good and you have really good aim with Bucky, I do think that you're going to dominate just like you dominated before, but there were a lot of people that were crutching on Bucky hard, where they would miss most of their hooks in a game, and honestly, they really weren't very accurate with their weapon, but they're still getting a crazy amount of value because of all this free synergy and low cooldowns on the hook. That's not going to be there anymore, and really, there are counters to Bucky. There's a lot of characters that just don't really care about Bucky. Characters like Magneto are very good against Bucky. Characters like Hela and characters like Hawkeye, who also got buffed, very, very good against Bucky. Also, while Bucky is still good against Dive, that really long hook cooldown is something that you really feel when multiple people are diving you. So if there's multiple targets that are jumping on you at the same time, Cap, Venom, Spider-Man, you have one hook, and if they miss that one hook, they're just pretty much going to be useless. They're going to die a lot. So there are key vulnerabilities to Bucky. There are key matchup weaknesses to Bucky, and I think this reels him back in power level enough where there's ways to counterplay him throughout the course of your rounds and your games. Bucky isn't going to be nearly as dominant as he once was, but he's still going to be a very solid DPS overall. So I'd say still respect Bucky. He's still strong. He's still very good, but I don't think he's the boogeyman anymore. The number 2 is Cloak and Dagger. This is a really big loser in Season 2. Cloak and Dagger did receive a tiny buff where now the fade of the ultimate goes away all at the same time. So technically, it's a small buff, but really it doesn't matter. And honestly, Cloak and Dagger has been pretty bad for quite some time. Ever since the nerf to Cloak and Dagger's ultimate, Cloak and Dagger has fallen behind basically every other support. And I have them pegged as the worst support right now. You could technically say that Jeff is the worst quote-unquote support, but he's played as a DPS, and in that category, he's really, really good. So yeah, Cloak and Dagger, by far the worst support. Still good though, which is the weird thing. Still a solid character, still reasonable. I still think that this character can carry, can still climb you to high elo, can still do well, but they're just worse than the other options. Because if we look at the other options, there's so many really amazing supports. And when we're looking at characters like Invisible Woman and Luna and the utility they provide, or Loki and the powerful cooldowns he provides, or Rocket just being completely busted right now, it's harder and harder to justify picking Cloak and Dagger when other characters have much higher ceilings in their impact when you get mechanically competent at them. And even a character like Rocket right now being so good that doesn't require crazy mechanics, I think it's going to be more reliable and better. So if you really murdered Cloak and Dagger, then you could definitely grind and lock this character and be just fine. But I will say that this is one of the worst seasons for Cloak and Dagger in quite some time, basically since the start of the game. And there are so many really powerful supports that come to mind before Cloak and Dagger if you're looking for a new character to main. And number 3, another big loser in Season 2, sadly, is Thor. Thor is a really, really big loser in Season 2, and it's really due to the fact that the patch notes were read wrong by a lot of us because of the anchor bonus change. So what is actually happening to Thor is that Thor's losing 25 HP, not gaining 100, and now Thor gets slightly more movement speed. And that slightly more movement speed is cool. It's nice. It's what Hulk got as well, but it doesn't make this character way better than he was before. And he was already not a top tank. He was still good, and I think he's really good the lower in rank you are because he just has a lot of flexibility and freedom. And if you're really good with him, you can climb to the highest ranks of play. I know a lot of Thors that are top tier, top level Thors all the way in top 500 last season. But Thor, unfortunately, didn't get any major buffs when other characters did. Other characters like Hulk getting massive buffs. Other characters like Penny getting massive buffs. And then characters like Groot, Magneto, Thing still being amazing. Thor is falling